7 people saying something, then that's like really, really great reporting. But I'm not a reporter, and I'm not doing that legwork. Like, when people come to me with something and I feel like it's worthwhile, I'm putting it out there in the wild, and then people can work towards confirming it on their own. But some stories that I've broken in my journalism days, so not even in my podcasting days, but like when Santa Monica canceled their sci-fi game and laid a bunch of people off, that was a Colin Moriarty report on IGN. That was from one source. I got a text message from someone at the studio telling me that everyone was getting laid off. Like, what do you... And so I'm like, okay, like, why would you just lie to my face? Like that. I know who you are, and that's, like, good enough. And we ran with the story. When there were these images of DualShock 4 going around, and everyone thought they were fake fabrications, I was the one who confirmed they were real by asking one source. It's working on a PlayStation 4 game. Like, it's not... That was fine. That was true. When I broke that Insomniac was working on a game called... or designing a game called Monster Night, and published all of the design documents on IGN. That came from one source. Ted Price. You know, like, sometimes you don't need more than one source to, you know, to say something. So there's that. But the other thing I've seen is, like, well, what is the veracity of the kind of the podcast era, Colin, in terms of the things he's broken? Well, every story that I've ever discussed, like, you know, here's a story that you might not know about, comes from one source in the podcast era. It comes from one source who approached me. So each story has their own source, but it's always the person approaching me, and it's one person. And then I ask questions and vet. I will say with this particular story, it's probably 20.
Depends what it is, man. Like, I did that like a while ago. There was a blueprint that I got, like, before you mentioned it yesterday. Like, I got that like on my second day of playing. If it's the one, I don't know what's the blueprint.
Even got served a cease and desist by Square Enix over it. PV, first details of Quantic Dream's Star Wars game, which is called Eclipse. We told you about a long time ago about the Demon Soul remake coming to that would, you know, launch with PS5. I reported on Bioshock's, and now no one really knows what's going on with Bioshock right now, but certainly at some point there was a Bioshock, and it might be the same game, there was a Bioshock game in development, and it was an Antarctic setting, and all the rest. I gave you story details and the code name. This was widely reported and widely corroborated by other sources.
I get that. You're being very vague.
From this show, and so on. I also was told things that I didn't even believe. We did postmortems on them. Like, someone told me about the Wolverine game, and I simply didn't believe it.
No, I don't think I have that one.
Also, you know, Insomniac's working on a Wolverine game. So,
I could. I don't know. I collected something in the beginning area.
Oh, yeah. No. It was Mortal Kombat. Megan Fox. Oh, Megan Fox. That's like, I remember that too. That was like something random someone told me. So, the idea that, like,
Travis Scott, real quick, just because I know someone's like, well, you got the Travis Scott part wrong. But
yeah, I don't know. Like, this was all in the same thing from a person who would know. I mean, again, it's just like these things. You have to understand that, like, when I was a journalist at IGN, I was really tenacious. I would, like, go and look up trademarks and patents. I would go into the ESRB and, like, all these different, you know, Taiwan and all these different places and try to find new game publishing. I would, like, go to all the various game, like, you know, a lot of companies have, like, kind of these deeper press-only websites or portals and, like, see if things have been uploaded accidentally and all that. Like, I really tried to press. I would cold call people. I would do all sorts of shit. I really would. It's very unusual. I was really aggressive, and I loved doing it. And broke a lot of stories that way. But I don't do that anymore. And I haven't done that in 10 years. But, so that's that kind of reporting. But to act like I've never told you about anything or nothing I've ever said is just bullshit. And I really did feel like that was used to, like, defame and undermine me, but I don't think that that's really fair. Right? Like, when I approached everyone, was like, hey, The Quarry was a Stadia game. And then no one talks about it. And then months later, Steven Still was like, oh, by the way, it's The Quarry was a Stadia game, and never even cited us. It's like, I told you that months ago. You know? It's just weird to me that people think that no one talks to me. It's kind of delusional, in some sense. But I understand people's kind of incredulity about some of this stuff, and I don't do the shoe leather journalism thing anymore. So it really is about like the people that come to me and me kind of just vetting that information and kind of putting it out there and hoping for, you know, more information from the people that are supposed to be doing, I thought, real journalism out there. So the situation with Concord, as I reported last week, or we talked about last week, was it's broken into 4 parts. That the ambition Sony and Firewalk had for it was enormous. That it was extremely expensive to make. That the studio making it barely created anything worthwhile in that time. And that criticism of the project internally was essentially verboten. If there is further reporting surrounding this game, I suspect all 4 of these slots will be confirmed in their own way over time. You know, expense, incompetence, ambition, all of that kind of stuff. So, people are, and in fact, Ethan Gotch at Kotaku verified almost immediately a major swath of the story, which was like this idea of toxic positivity, that like there was just a belief that this team was too good to fail, and that they knew exactly what they were doing. And he verified that immediately. So I felt pretty good about that, because I was like, yeah, I mean, that's what I've been told, you know? So that lines up. And by the way, I did want to thank a few, because a lot of journalists like made fun of me, made fun of the story. I think Christopher Drink called it the laughing stock of the industry in a tweet. But I appreciate the people that either reported on it, so like, you know, Jordan Midler at Video Games Chronicle, or Sammy Barker at Push Square. And of course, we're like, you know, this is one source, grain of salt. Of course, it's one source. Of course, you should take everything with a grain of salt. I'm not the source, so I can't be 100% positive. We already went into all this. You know, you put things out there that you believe. And I appreciate Tom Henderson saying to someone, he said something like, I know Colin would vet the source. It's, of course, whether the information is real, but he's not putting that information out there to be false. I appreciate that people gave me the benefit of the doubt on this. And I was hoping that it would encourage more people to kind of just do more journalism and chase the story. If someone comes and says, actually, it was 350 or something, I'd be like, okay, like, you know, like, so very, 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 very expensive. Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Because people are hung up on this, I want to just get into my rationale and what I kind of know about this. None of this is from the source. This is from me just doing research in preparation to even talk about it. And again, maybe I should have shared some of this information that gives people context, but I was kind of hoping that maybe some journalism or some journalists out there would have just done this themselves to kind of put 2 and 2 together. So this is my theory of the case. And I'm sorry it's boring, because I know this is probably boring for a lot of people out there too. So, first of all, about the $400 million number, I totally get it. What really bothers me about the way this was reported is that it's not reported in the context of the way I presented it. As you guys might remember, I presented that I wanted to go forward with this, and in fact that the source in part got in touch with me because of the fact that I was saying that the game must have been pretty cheap to me. And you guys might recall when people were saying like they lost $200 million on it. I'm like, I don't think they spent $200 million on it. I think maybe over $100 million, but $200 million seems insane. And that was the way I presented it, where I was like, this was part of the story, was like how wrong I was, according to the source, about it. So I totally get how people can't understand how a game like this could earn through an enormous amount of money. You know, and 400 being some sort of approximation, I suppose. But, because no one really has exposure to all of it. But you can do the math or whatever and figure out that, and this is kind of what I did when I was presented with this. In fact, the reason I spoke to the source a second time, and we spoke 3 times ultimately, but the reason that I spoke to the source a second time was I was like, are you sure? Like, and that's when I was doing all the research that I'm about to present to you and kind of was able to square it. So, you want to see the way I look at it? Here it is. I think that people are misunderstanding the role of probably monsters, who they are, and how much.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, you might be noticing that something has changed. It's not Mint's offer of
money they had, and how much of a failure, from my perspective, it's been so far for them. At least getting games to market, let's say. So, Concord was in various stages of development for a long time. A lot of people were saying, like, the game wasn't in development for 8 years. I'm like, I never said it was. That this is something you guys are adding into it. I have no idea how long it was in development for. Here's what we do know, though. If you go look up the trademark for Concord, it was trademarked in the beginning of 2018. And this trademark was owned by Probably Monsters itself until 2023. This is an important component of the story and why I want people to kind of think things through and see things the way that I see them, and maybe it'll let you understand it better. Maybe you'll come out of this and be like, oh, I still don't believe it, it still makes sense to me, which is totally fine, but at least I want to give you my run of it. I think so one of the things that I presented was, it's unclear, let's say the 400 round number is like accurate, right? It's unclear who spent what or who was responsible for what. And what I said was that at least in that beginning first until 2023, when Probably Monsters still owned Concord, like the IP, and Sony was acting not as like a full funder, but as a publishing partner. It's important to note that. At that time, they were a publishing partner. So probably going to take care of marketing, probably infusing a little bit of money and know-how, access to a bunch of things that PlayStation has access to, very fortuitous. But based on the behavior of the company, Probably Monsters itself, it seems likely that they were funding the lion's share of the game for a lot of the time. So here's what and this is important because everyone's like, Sony didn't spend $400 million. And I'm like, I didn't say they did. I said the game is reported by the source to cost approximately this much. So here's what you guys need to know, and what I think will give you some insight. Probably Monsters was founded by Harold Ryan. This is a name you know, Chris, by chance?
That sounds really familiar, yeah.
He's the longtime president of Bungie.
Yeah.
From Halo 2, Halo 3, all the way through Destiny 2. In 2019, the publication Variety described Probably Monsters as a, quote, holding company and incubator that will launch and support multiple subsidiary studios, each one built around a specific title, end quote, okay? So these studios were being founded to deploy to make one game, and everything would hinge on this game. Very similar to what Bungie has done in the past, right? An important point. So these guys are going to be dumping money into lots of these individual sorts of projects. In the summer of 2019, they raised nearly $20 million in funding spread across two projects. One of them is Concord. Interestingly, Jerry Jones, you're not sports fans. Jerry Jones is the owner and very enigmatic and mercurial owner of the Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys. Very well known person. He's one of the people that actually was an early investor. This probably had no idea he was doing it, but some of the money came from him nonetheless. At this time, Variety reports, so this is in 2019, that each game that they were making would have a $50 million budget. Okay? So that was the frame of mind reference in spring, summer 2019 about Concord. They were hiring at this time extremely expensive talent. They hired Tony Sue to run Firewalk, who still runs Firewalk to this day. He was Activision's SVP and general manager and the head of the Destiny brand at Activision, and the Activision liaison for Bungie. And the creative director who just recently left Firewalk was Ryan Ellis, who was Bungie's creative director. So these are expensive people. Now, I'm not saying this is like where all the expense comes from. I'm just saying these are people that come from sophisticated. So this is part of the logic, my internal logic. SWAT 1. Really expensive talent with expensive champagne boutique game development tastes that don't do things cheaply. Bungie doesn't do things cheaply. Activision doesn't do things cheaply. But they've raised only $20 million at this point, right? So $50 million budget. Obviously, it's important to know that these are series funding. Because of the individual wealth of the founding members of this, they probably infused what I would assume was tens of millions of dollars into the company to get it going, but I don't know. I have no idea about that. And I couldn't find that on Crunchbase. There's no information about that. Yeah. But here's where things get interesting. So these guys are burning through some of their money. We get to 2021. 2021 is a seminal year for Concord and for Probably Monsters, okay? Sony gets involved in early 2021. They are said to have known about the project since 2018 and were being shown things from the project in 2018. So we know that the game was in development in 2018, at least enough to kind of court Sony and court their interest as they're shopping into other publishers as well. And then finally, as we learned in the spring of 2021, Sony signs a publishing agreement with Concord. This is around the same time that they signed an agreement with Deviation, which is no longer in existence, and with Haven, which Sony went and bought, and they're making the game Fair Games. Now, this is an important part of the logic to me. Herman Holst, who was at the time in charge of Sony's first party and kind of creative direction, said this in part to IGN, quote, "They're a brand new team. Working with Firewalk gives us the best of two worlds. On the one hand, we get to collaborate with the studio right off the bat. So we get that magical early stage full of curiosity, exploring new ways of making games and making new games. And on the other hand, there's a real depth of experience," end quote. So if Holst is accurate in early 2021, there's nothing going yet. He's saying here they're getting in at an early stage. They're a brand new team. So it seems like they've been spending money on this thing since 2019 with a $50 million budget and have nothing to show. Now I want to say nothing to show for it, we don't know that, but are in an early enough stage where Sony's excited to get in at what they call an early stage, full of curiosity, exploring new things of making games and making new games. This thing is still embryonic. They have already spent and already had ambition for it by this time, several years worth of money.
Yeah.
Okay? So Tony Sue told IGN in that same interview that Sony has been familiar with the game since 2018, working on it and developing it with their knowledge before they presumably got more intertwined. So this game was moving from a fairly early stage. And again, just to underline, Sony's coming in as a publishing partner. We learned from Stellar Blade's financials with Shift Up that Shift Up has paid something like $8 million in royalties to Sony based on Stellar Blade. We know that Stellar Blade was in development before Sony ever got involved. In fact, it was announced for Xbox, as you guys might remember. It's likely that Sony defrayed some development costs and was like, we'll market it, we'll give you all the tools you need, first-party access, all of the rest, and that's probably what was happening here. So it's not to say Sony wasn't spending anything. It's just to say that I think the lion's share of money at this time was being spent by Firewalk. But this is where, this to me is fairly definitive of how much money was being spent. Months after Probably Monsters and Sony announced their publishing partnership, Probably Monsters announces in the summer of 2021 that they raised an insane $200 million in Series A preferred stock financing, as reported by Forbes. This number is reportedly actually low and is later revised to $250 million. This is the largest Series A funding in the history of the video game industry. To this day, no publisher or studio has ever raised in Series A funding $200 million, nonetheless the actual $250 that they raised in Series A funding. Forbes said that Probably Monsters did this, quote, to promote its heavy focus on a people-first approach to development and team building, aiming to invest this latest cash injection into growth, long-term stability for the gaming careers it offers, and fostering a positive work environment for new and existing employees, end quote. So they're dumping this money into what they're already doing, which is Concord. They have a second team spooling up around this time. So Firewalk comes in, and then there's a team called Cauldron that comes in. They're working on a single-player game, never comes out, and Cauldron is later disbanded. And at this time, there's also a third game getting spooled up, which is further behind, in kind of the embryonic stage at this point, a co-op RPG that also never comes out. So at this point, they have a command of $250 million, and Concord is their lead project furthest along. After already having developed it, and it's used probably tens of millions of dollars into it since 2018, but again, I don't know that for sure. But we know for sure that they get $250 million of infusion, plus above and beyond whatever Sony's giving them. And they're seeking this money after they make the relationship with Sony. So it's clear that the money coming from Sony is not enough, or at least not requisite to what their ambitions were. It's important to remember, too, the financial situation around this time in the world. Money was historically cheap to buy, or to borrow. When COVID began, things got really relaxed, and people started borrowing an enormous amount of money. And if you read around the tech industry, there have been hundreds of thousands of layoffs by companies overexpanding, spending too much money, being too ambitious, dumping too much money into too many things. Why would it be so unusual that it might have happened here? There have been 40,000 layoffs in the games industry since the deal was announced. So obviously there were lots of people spending money in really bad places, very unwisely, losing their shirts in a lot of situations. It doesn't seem unusual to me that a company that has this game incubating, and then the free money kind of, or the cheap money things start. At Breaker, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help you forward, safe, and sound. Shop on fast, kind of, or the cheap money thing start kind of begins, and they start raising all of this cash to the point that they are infused with hundreds of millions of dollars. I thought that people would be able to connect this, but they just didn't maybe know that this happened. This, to me, is a good sign that a lot of money. When again, I have no insight into this, but I would assume, like, you're looking at a 9-figure spend on Concord, all told, by Probably Monsters, which makes Sony spend, and I thought this was obvious in what I was saying earlier, cheaper than the overall number. But that's just kind of the way I look at it. So the other thing I saw was people were trying to kind of do back of the napkin math about how budgets are formed, but budgets aren't formed by taking the studio's headcount and then multiplying it by a certain number. That's a studio's burn rate, and we do that all the time on the show. We try to figure out, like, here's a loose way of what this might cost and how much this studio might cost to run and all that, but it's not about the overall budget of a game, which is a multi-tenfold thing. Often more than half of a budget of a game, especially really big games, it's spent outside of the home studio. Just look at the credits of games.
Oh my god.
You know, like, you just have to look at the credits of various video games. And by the way, I saw your thing, Dustin, with the hour-long credits thing. I think people misunderstood that you were joking, but all you have to do is go to mobile. I encourage you to use the website Mobile Games. I use it all the time. I talk about it all the time. You can see exactly how many people work on every game, click on all of the names, see what else they worked on, and all of the rest, and compare and contrast.
Right. Yeah, that credit tweet, it was funny, because I got some shit for it, and you're right, it was like a half joke, in that I certainly know that the length of a credits does not equal the amount of people necessarily. But also, it's over an hour long. Like, that's funny in and of itself.
Concord.
So
Concord is wild.
Yeah, for Concord. So that was, silly. I think my top performing tweet ever on that one, and ended up on Asmongold's thumbnail. So that was
fucking talking about.
But side note.
So just to, and I'll begin wrapping this up because I don't want to go on too long. I know we've been going on long about this. I'm eager to share my logic so people at least know where I'm coming from. Whether you still think I'm a liar.
Oh my god, dude, you're fucking killing me here, man. I just want to play the game.
So where we stand in 2021 is really fortuitous financial.
Like, what am I looking for?
In tech and all industries as well, paying an enormous amount of money to people to do things. And at this time, Probably Monsters raises $250 million in Series A funding to put on top of all the funding they already got, to put on top of their publishing arrangements, not only with Concord, but with their earlier embryonic games. But Concord,
I'm not seeing any
resources. So fast forward to 2023, and things are not looking good for Probably Monsters. It outright sells Firewalk to Sony, right? Shedding all the weight of Concord and the entire team working on it. It cancels the unannounced game that Cauldron team was making that was further back than Concord, and closes that studio. It also lays off a bunch of people at the publisher itself. And it's important to note that Probably Monsters still exists today, but has 2 different teams now working with it that are smaller. And and same people are in charge.
Just fucking wasting time, hopping around, looking for fucking something I don't know what
has come out to market. And that's important because they shed Concord, the Cauldron team closes down, and nothing else they were working on was anywhere close to getting, ready to go. So it's not, I don't want to say it's, I don't know, I don't have any insight really into Probably Monsters. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like
I'm not seeing anything, man.
Company. It doesn't seem like they've been good shepherds of the money. If you raise $250 million and then 2 years later you sell one of the teams and you cancel one of the other games, it doesn't seem like things are going well. And this is the environment that and as I was reading about this and learning about this, I'm like, yeah, this seems like a real boondoggle.
How about I don't care.
Kind of do the legwork to figure this stuff out for themselves when they were reporting it. And if I knew that it would kind of
if the game's not going to be fucking obvious about something.
But I didn't. So these 2 teams that they have now are both Battle Barge and Hidden Grove. Hidden Grove is apparently 35 people. I mean, these are seem like small teams and small operations, and it seems like, you know, maybe they sold, and I have no insight into this, but maybe sold Firewalk and Concord just to get some of that money back. Sony might have been interested because they might have gotten a really good...
That's so tiny. Like,
piece. Going back to the trademarks. Concord's trademarked by...
How the fuck are you supposed to see that? Like, I'm not going slow here looking at the fucking ground.
Trademark until Sony buys Firewalk. You can go look in the USPTO search yourself and see that there's a change of ownership in the summer of 2023. Sony was buying in the Concord. Like, they bought the team, they bought the project, they bought the IP, and they believed in it. They really believed in it. And so, taking all of these components into your kind of mind and mixing it all up, I think you can see a little bit more about why this might have been a very financially messy situation.
Don't want to do this shit.
The last thing that I wanted to say was about Sony itself, which is like...
It's not what I'm trying to do on my runs.
Would Sony really spend a ton of the money on this project? And it's like, yeah. I think they would. Here's why. How much money did they just spend on Bungie?
Cool. Bronze trophy. See, that wasn't so hard. Now, was it? Cool. Never have to do another one of those ever again.
And that company isn't worth anywhere close to that. Destiny 2 isn't worth anywhere close to that. Marathon isn't worth anywhere close to that. This new project that they spun out...
I'm killing my time here.
Anywhere close to that. They massively overspent, and I would imagine that they look at this as a major loss in turn. I don't have any information on that, but $3.7 billion for a studio that was running in the red the entire time you owned them. You had to lay off a bunch of them, you poach a bunch of them to your own people or whatever. This isn't a company that's like dealing with their money very fiduciarily, in my opinion. So why is it so unbelievable that they would dump a bunch of money into a game like Concord when they just did that? By the way, these are the same people that canceled The Last of Us Online after that game's development consumed Naughty Dog for multiple years. I guarantee you they lost a lot of money on that game, too. I have no horizon into that knowledge, but I would imagine that's a 9-figure loss. And more importantly, a waste of Naughty Dog's time. And a waste of really valuable resources' time on a project that never came out. They canceled London Studios' game. They canceled Twisted Metal. They canceled Deviation's game. Does it really sound like it's a well-run ship right now? Why is it so hard to understand that? That, like, things don't seem to be going great in this multiplayer approach right now. They've massively overspent. They have this fucking anchor, like Bungie, around their ankle now. They screw up and cancel all of these different games. It makes sense that they would be like, yeah, these are the ones we believe in. Concord, Helldivers, Fair Games, etc. It's surprising to me that people never really made that connection. That was like intuitive to me. It's like, yeah, like, is it possible? Like, yeah, like, look at what they're doing. It's possible. Yeah. And then the last thing is, like, budgets. And, like, I think Christopher Drink said, like, games just don't cost that much. It's like, I think you're going to be in for a rude awakening, Christopher Drink, like you see.
I don't care. Like, if I miss a scroll, like, who cares? Like, I'm not here to grab every scroll. Like, it doesn't seem like it's necessary.
Logic I want to share in my kind of thought process. Everyone's like, they made Spider-Man for $80 million. It's like, yes. How much does Spider-Man 2 cost? $300 million. Now, think about that. Think about that. Spider-Man 2 is built on the bones of a game that already existed. Remember when people would make fun of how the games share animations? You can, like, God of War. Yeah, like God of War, Horizon, like, same thing Spider-Man, right? You built a new part of the city, there's a new story. It's a wonderful game. I think Spider-Man 2 is awesome, you know? But they spent that much money on a fucking iteration of a game that exists. That's how much they spent on it. And you can also see the explosion in cost in that time, almost 4 times.
I disagree.
That they spent on the sequel to the original Spider-Man. Why would it be so unbelievable that getting something from the ground up going would cost hundreds of millions of dollars? Especially when you have major ambition behind this project, and that has to be underlined. Like I said, Star Wars-like ambition. Considerable for a long time. The Concord we've seen is not the Concord that was intended. To say something like Concord had no marketing, of course they didn't believe in it, is so ignorant. because it suggests that they didn't know that the fucking jig was up at some point, and obviously they did. But when at the time of the alpha and all of the rest of what I was talking about in my reporting, they were in major belief in this game. And my assumption is that they knew that this was not going to go well when they showed it.
Its design is so shit.
And I would imagine that they made major adjustments. Things like the Amazon activation are going to appear because the money's spent and it's probably done.
This whole game is about speedrunning and not getting hit. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's like the objective of the game. Like, that's how you do the best. So many trophies, and getting the platinum requires you to not get hit. So it's like, that's kind of the name of the game.
Amounts of money.
That's what I'm focusing on.
Yes. And I agree that it's unbelievable. Like, I totally get it. And I don't blame people for not believing it. That's the thing, is like, I don't blame you. But you have to kind of put all the pieces together to try to kind of rationalize it. And that's kind of, so this is the kind of work I did before I even talked to you. To try, and I just put it into words to try to say, like, yeah, this was kind of my approach to it. This is why I believe it. So I hope that, it's not like I gave you any more information from the source today, because I didn't, but I'm just giving you my own rationale. And I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think that's pretty clear. It's like I think we here know that you're just a very careful person, and you have a contagious carefulness too. Because I think about some of the times that I've heard things that I thought were like very, very verifiable, that I thought about maybe talking about on the show, but I don't. Like, we talked about, like, I think, even just when the Sega layoffs were happening, I heard about that, like, I knew about that, like, way ahead of time, and I was like, I don't know if I want to, like, I was pretty sure about that, but also, like, the reputation of the show is kind of on that, too, so it's like, I don't know. But then it ended up happening, and actually, as we were talking about this, I forgot, when you wrote the story originally, and you said it was codenamed Chaos, you said that was the codename. I remember, like, at the time, I remember that kind of scratching something to me, and then I realized literally today as you were talking, because like I sent in our staff Discord in late April, so a month before the first gameplay trailer went live, I said I was out at a bar with some friends and got to chatting with some hammered developers talking about a Sony FPS called Chaos, maybe codename, I don't know, that's Valorant Overwatch inspired for debut at the end of Q2. Not sure what to make of it. That's so believable. But it's so funny, like I'm just now. All that, like, oh my god, that's what they're talking about. It makes sense.
Wesley, what's up? You managed to get outside.
I didn't talk about that on the show either, because it's just like, you know, we're all pretty careful here, I think, generally, if we have anything to say.
Right. It's not to say that, like, I can't be deceived or lied to. Like, it's just to say that I'm doing my best to vet information and that I would never knowingly lie. You know? Like, it's just not in me. It's just not something I do. So I hope that makes sense about kind of the logic of why I think it's possible that this is true. And why, based on, and, like, again, just the source is the source. So, so yeah, I hope that's not wasn't too boring for anyone. But that was kind of the mind of Colin and like what I was thinking about in terms of what I interpret as severe incompetence and probably monsters, lots of money spent. You can see where did all that money go in 2021? They haven't released the game. Yep. So, I would love to know more, but I'm not gonna, like, again, like, I just don't chase this shit anymore. I hope that the good journalists out there will continue to chase the story, and I believe they will. And I really have no doubt that that the reporting is going to show, like, a game that was too good to fail, a team that was too good to fail, with major buy-in, and the rest. I believe that. So, what's that?
No, I haven't heard of Mo Astre or Dandara. I think we're all eagerly awaiting Hades 2. I still need to, like, go through and finish, or try and, like, attempt to finish Hades 1. I played that so much, and I felt like I barely got anywhere. So,
let's get into some smaller news items here.
Like, I got to a point where I'm just beating Satan, like, over and over and over. Or Hades, whatever the fuck. And it's just like, I feel like I'm not, like, really progressing anymore.
They're, according to IGN, a Louisiana-based film production company.
No, that's not Zero Deaths. That's Zero Monsters Killed. That's Monster Kills. And it resets every time you get hit. So, that's bad.
Yeah. They're suing Sony, Shift Up, and Sony's company that covers their liability insurance, which is interesting. Because they would pay into this sort of thing. Sony pays a...
Beat at zero. That means the last enemy hit me before I finished level.
So these guys seem to know that.
Or I took damage from like poison or something.
It's interesting because they do establish that this use of StellarBlade.com has been in use since 2006, and they have established a bunch of things. My big question here is, and I wonder what maybe we'll get Hogue on to talk about this. I wouldn't want to just talk about this, other things too, but
yeah,
it's like you from doing this earlier, Stellar Blade.
Wesley, as far as other smaller games, well, I still want to get the DLC for this game and for Vampire Survivors, but also I haven't bought it yet, but a recent Summon Signs episode had Jason from Atari on, and he was talking. He got me into looking at a little indie game called Cookie Cutter, which is a Metroidvania-like game. So I put that on my wish list. I think it's like $20 on PlayStation. So it's probably similar pricing like on Steam. But have you? Yeah, I haven't heard of it. And it looks cool.
Has been known for a long time. Maybe they just discovered it. You guys have any thoughts on this? I guess we'll keep an eye on it. We're not legal analysts, obviously, but
yeah, I'm looking at StellarBlade.com right now. It's actually it's a video production company, as you said. It reminds me a lot of my own job. Some of the stuff on there real here, but I could see a situation where you're established as a company called Stellar Blade, and then if you have people looking for your services and they go to Google and they search Stellar Blade, and suddenly there's a hot Korean chick instead, and no one can find you, I could see that being damaging, potentially. So, I'm with you, Colin, that I'm not a legal analyst, but that's the grounds that I could see where it's like, yeah, you've completely decimated our searchability, which for a company dealing with a lot of online video production stuff could be an issue.
Important to note is that, and I went to look this up just because I did yesterday when I was researching it, but I wanted to make sure I had this, is like there are, like, both Shift Up and this Louisiana-based LLC do have Stellar Blade trademarks. The trademark for Stellar Blade for the company in Louisiana is a multimedia entertainment service. So, actually, there's some side this one. That in the Discord just
got it. It's on you.
My ass is on. So when you have a trademark, you have like all of this. You can give like all of this information specifically. So when we went to Sacred Symbols trademark, but we only own it in certain ways. Like if someone created a tchotchke store called Sacred Symbols, like we couldn't do anything about that because we own Sacred Symbols as like a podcast name and like an entertainment entity. And so the Stellar Blade Louisiana trademark is for multimedia entertainment services in the nature of development, production, and post-production services.
Practice for trying not to get hit.
And there's a bunch of
Scourgebringer. Okay. I'm not sure if I heard of that one.
The biggest of the companies to try to bring. But Stellar Blade is owned. There are two different Stellar Blade trademarks alive, at least in the United States, both owned by a South Korean firm, Shift Up, the developer.
Ooh, scissors are really nice. So
these is for computer programs for pre-recorded games, computer game software, smartphone game software, downloadable simulation software, etc. So totally different things. So I wonder, like, that's
Sanctuary Graveyard.
You both can have Stellar Blade, you know. Yeah, they're just two different things. That's as I understand it, the way it works. So we'll keep an eye on this.
Boo.
Citrus, you don't have to.
Well, I do
Damn.
think
I got a lot.
there is probably. I think because they've existed for a while and they do.
Dang.
Like this, I feel like does genuinely do noticeable damage to their discoverability. Like you're not competing with like a half-naked, idealized Korean. You know what I mean? Like no one's gonna look at your company if that's also on the page. So it's like they probably could. I don't know. Maybe they could get it. I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, listen, this is definitely hurting our SEO. We're probably not going to win this, but we might get something.
Yeah, Sony might just pay them to go away. You know.
Yeah, like even just like. Even just like a quote, like here's $1 million. Here's what we made on Concord.
Yeah, you take it to go away. Take the Concord money.
Yeah, you take. Here you go, have Concord.
You can have the whole IP.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's funny you say $1 million. I was thinking 500,000 off of so. But here, here's $500,000. Go fuck off. Because Sony can make it really painful for them too, which is kind of the shitty thing, you know. Yeah. That's what I don't like about the leverage that big companies have in legal instances of. They know that they don't have a case or they know they can't win. They just know it's so expensive, and they have in-house counsel and like tons of access to, you know, resources, and people just can't keep up. It's so fucked up that people can do that, you know, or that entities can do that. So whatever's fair is fair. Maybe we'll get a fucking civil trial in Louisiana, and we'll have the shipped up people will have to go. Not show up. All right. This comes from Video Games Chronicle, our friends over there. Friend Jordan Midler writes in, or didn't write in, wrote a story. Suzuki Nomura says he's considering retirement and continuing Kingdom Hearts story. So, Nomura, longtime director, producer, Square Enix, auteur, turns 54, still pretty young. He spoke to a Japanese publication.
He's 54 and he's thinking about retiring from an art
He said
form.
in part, quote, I only have a few years left until I retire. I have to decide whether to retire first or finish the series first. Let's talk about Kingdom Hearts. I'm making Kingdom Hearts 4 now with the intention of it being the story that I will complete. Dustin, how does this strike you? Nomura's been in the fold for a long time. Final Fantasy IV was his first game. He was on the periphery of that game, but by the time he's, you know, you're getting into the turn of the century, he's getting deep.
It's like Square making him retire? Like, you don't have to retire, bro.
Has been for a long time. One of the major players.
And if you want to, I suppose.
Unimaginable.
Weird when artists retire, because artists usually don't want to retire.
I would feel like he would have 20 years left.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Or more.
Storied and probably really tired. So
yeah.
Fuck off. You know, I need to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it is. It's odd because he could have really cleaned things up with Kingdom Hearts 3 and let that go, right? But they left Kingdom Hearts 3 with some open-ended stuff, and now they're beginning what could be certainly a new trilogy of games, maybe two, I don't know. But so he kind of opened himself up to all this new stuff, and I don't. Maybe he'll hand it off, maybe not. But it's also worth mentioning, you know, he's also working on the remake project, which one more game, assumingly, in that, so that will be concluding in the next 5-ish years. So it's definitely sad, but you're right, 54, I don't know what would be standard for how long, like what a average retirement age is for someone in this business in Japan. I just recently watched a documentary about Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli, and he has tried to retire, I don't know, he said he's retired like 3 or 4 times, but then he just can't stop. He just gets an idea for a movie and then goes back and makes it. I'm convinced he's going to die at his drawing table just because he's like born to do that.
He's the one with the cigarette, right? And like,
yeah, that's his animal's instinct.
That shot is so fucking awesome. You know?
Yeah, he's awesome. Dude, his new, so that documentary is all about the most recent movie they made called The Boy and the Heron, and I love it. There's just him smoking, animating. I'm like, this is the way movies should be made, like with cigarettes and coffee, you know. So, yeah, it would be really sad to see him retire, but maybe he just needs to chill out for a bit. He's opened up his mind too far with Kingdom Hearts, and he's starting to lose his mind.
He's all in touch with reality.
Yeah, I did notice. I don't know if it's in this article. He mentioned something about Kingdom Hearts 4. There's a line in the first Kingdom Hearts in the intro where Sora says, "I'm not." It's something like, "I'm not sure if this is real or not." He's like, "Oh, we're gonna explain that." Like, no, motherfucker, you are not Oda, the creator of One Piece. That was not foreshadowing. You grab that line, you're like, "Oh, we can do something." No. I don't believe in the grand plan of Kingdom Hearts like that, but nice try.
It's funny, man. Like I think about these little stories that I write for Lily-Mo, and how I have to constantly go back and consult my own story to see if anything I'm saying makes any sense within what I've already written. And I can't imagine doing that with a game like that, like Kingdom Hearts or something really well established where like everything has to fit. And I don't even. Maybe I'm sure there are creators much more clever and organized than me, but I'm like just making this shit up on the fly, and I don't care how it fits. But I'm like, okay. Now I gotta like fit this into this new idea. It becomes more and more unstable, really, as time goes. And it's so funny that he's got these plates spinning. And now people love it. They love it. You fucking love it. I know you do. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he said it in interviews. Again, it's not in this, and maybe I'm misremembering, but I think he said something like he consults YouTube videos when he needs to remember parts of the story or character interactions and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you would have to. No man can contain that kind of knowledge. Even I'm not the most studied Kingdom Hearts fan, but I'll go, like, the new game. When 3 came out, I played all the old ones, and I did all of my YouTube research. You can't keep that in your brain too long. It leaves. So every once in a while, I'll go and try to remember. And if you guys want to know a bit of the insanity, check out the Houston live show where I did the presentation on Kingdom Hearts, and it'll give you a little taste of the madness.
Yeah. It's funny, man. I love that.
Yeah, the downward lunge is really good.
It's so funny to me because it's so weird. It's always been weird to me. Kingdom Hearts has always been this really weird thing to me that I've never understood. And it is strange.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that was
the downward smash killing enemies feels real nice. It's got a good crunch sound effect too.
Now I'm a little bit. Something a little differentiated. I just glaze over, but I can't do this anymore. I think it's just this. A wizard. Oh. And the guy's got a sword. He's gonna kill the dragon.
It's so boiling it down so much. I do that same thing too, but like I feel the same way about fantasy in general, where it's like I get it. Like there's dragons and wizards and the short guy with a beard, like I get it.
The dwarf. I love it. Alright. Nomura, you've worked for over 30 years. You should feel free to live with your millions and hang, but I just feel like you have more to give. If I'm being honest. And I'm a Nomura appreciator. You know? I wasn't always. This is a more recent development. Because I feel like he was a major corrupting agent as well to Square Enix in some way, but you can't deny the results of his games and people's love for him. So, all right, Tetsuya Nomura, we'll be keeping a close eye on you as always. Guys, a random.
We're not done with you yet, Tetsuya.
You gay for me, Tetsuya. Guys,
say that?
A new Like a Dragon game has been announced. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza.
Oh, what happened?
The game comes from publisher Sega and their fully owned studio Ryuga Gotoku. Seems to be part of a really quick cadence of.
I guess I need to explore around here.
Like a Dragon, they're called now. I have the list of Yakuza games open, and man, I got to sneeze. Excuse me. Pardon me, listen. Jesus Christ.
So it's the beginner's bow. How about that? It's the most recent episode of Sacred Symbols. No shit. These items are... Oh, that's good. If I'd known that, I would have gotten this trophy already last night. Yeah, so it's the most recent episode of Sacred Symbols. So it's Colin, Dustin, and Chris. Colin, Chris, and Dustin. Talking about most recent news and happenings of the week on PlayStation and anything related thereof, and that or gaming. Scratch one. Rusty Sword. Alright, so... We're going to backpack the bow. We're going to take the shield. And then we'll just... okay, so this is going to be a straight boss run. I didn't know the original weapons were hidden like that. There's something else hidden here, though, too, I guess. Some sort of... some fucking... something I don't know about. Back up in the tube or something? Alright. Disengagement. Well, we'll just look that up on the phone real quick. Ah. Lines on the wall, but not ceilings. What? Okay. I mean, your curtains were open a little bit. Maybe. You press feather. The fuck is feather? Not sure if I can get up there. Oh. Okay. Triple jump. I can't get up there, so can't get it yet. See, this is why I don't have this stuff, and I haven't come across it because I'm not ready for it yet.
The original Yakuza, and then you have these kind of hits, so on and so
I don't
forth.
know what the fuck Feather is.
Every year, every couple of years, man, they're really going hard with a lot of the games recently, and this is going to be using old assets. I know that they're really into doing that. Get games kind of iterated on.
All right,
but
Boston.
good.
Back to the podcast.
Release from Sega says this game, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, quote, is a brand new action adventure that follows Goro Majima across land and sea. 1 year after the events of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Majima, am I saying that right? I don't know. Washed ashore on a deserted island amid the scattered remnants of a shipwreck. Unable to remember even his own name, he travels across the vast ocean in search of clues to piece together his lost identity, accompanied by a boy named Noah who saved his life. Before long, they're caught up in a conflict between cutthroat criminals, modern-day pirates, and other scoundrels over a legendary treasure. I know Mike is into it. What are you guys thinking about this, Chris?
Man, they make a lot of these. It is. I'm pretty impressed at the rate they're able to turn these things out. But I'm only like really tangentially, kind of vaguely into Yakuza. I really liked Like a Dragon for the. I think I played it for a considerable amount of time too, but I never ended up finishing it. That's a really long game, and ended up just kind of filtering me at a certain point. But I did like what I played. I feel like I'm more of an Ichiban. Like I like that character. The other characters I'm not so sure about. I don't know who Goro is, or at least I'm not sure if he's in Like a Dragon. It says the Yakuza game that is like the Yakuza game that is called Like a Dragon.
Let me see.
But I don't remember him very much. So like I'm very Yakuza's connected to Ichiban for me. So if it's not Ichiban, then I'm probably not super interested. I still have to get around to finishing Like a Dragon and then maybe going to Infinite Well if I ever get around to it. But I'm so tragically behind in Yakuza, it's crazy. Like I'm not even gonna pretend like this is something that I'm gonna get to in the next like 3 years.
It says here on the Yakuza fandom wiki, Goro Majima is the recurring major character in the Like a Dragon series introduced in the original Yakuza. He is featured as a protagonist in Yakuza 0, Yakuza Dead Souls, and the Majima saga of Yakuza Kiwami 2, and Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. He is also featured as a supporting character in Yakuza, Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza 2, Yakuza 3, Yakuza 4, Yakuza 5, Yakuza 6, Yakuza Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, and Like a Dragon. Well,
yeah, I don't remember.
He's got the patch.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, maybe.
He's like,
I'll
so
put it here for you in the chat.
Oh.
to my understanding, because I've only,
Okay.
yeah, this guy.
Oh yeah. Okay. I remember.
He is very prominent in Yakuza 0, as you mentioned, Colin, but he is a fan favorite, wacky character, and I kind of like Yakuza's always been silly to a large degree, and the fact they are leaning so hard into the silliness on a full release. It's like, hey, we're gonna take this character. He has amnesia and he's a pirate now. I like where this is going. So, like Chris, I'm also extremely behind. Not finished a Yakuza game. Maybe that's my. I don't know. I keep saying that maybe this is the time, but it never is.
I'm very interested in this. Is I think this series and the Trail series are the two series that I know that I want to get into. Over time, I've shed the ability of being like, I'm just never going to get to the Assassin's Creed games. I'm never going to get to this. I'm never going to get to that. But these are the two things that stay in my mind when I do this. And I know people are like, oh, you just play this, and this. And I'm like, no, I want to play them all. Like, that's just the way I absorb them. I want to go back and play the original Yakuza, and Yakuza 2, and start from there. But I don't know if I'll ever find the time to do so. Maybe in the legendary year without a new game. Maybe if we ever get that one.
Well, the thing is, like, they're long, and they come out so frequently. Like, I feel like Infinite Wealth just came out. You know what I mean? And now here's the next, and now here's another one. It's just like, oh my god. And they're so long, and they're grindy, obviously, because that's kind of the nature of what these games are. And it's just like, man. I really liked Like a Dragon when I was playing it, but it did get to a point where I was just like, I don't have time for this. I've got to get to other things.
I feel the same. Yeah, no disrespect to them, because I think it's really cool. I think they have something cool going on. Yeah, I think Sega has a, something really low-key powerful with this. This was also kind of like a de facto PlayStation exclusive for a long time, and it's really, I think, by spreading to other platforms, including PC, I think it's done a really nice job of finding like a really established
way off the time.
I think has surprised Sega.
That's too short of the 30 kills.
But I don't know. Why wasn't I ever into Yakuza? I don't really know. It just never spoke to me for some reason. I was thinking, I don't know. And then over time, I was like, no, I should have played it, probably. Yeah. Oh, whatever. All right. Goro Majima, we'll see you.
Yeah. Oh, big.
Oh, what? You didn't like? Oh, Mike didn't like that. What, do you have something to say? Come here.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
He's here.
Where's the jar?
Where's the jar?
I didn't want to know where the jar is.
There's no jar for this. I mean, you'd need like a punch vessel of some kind. Maybe we can arrange that.
Oh yeah, it can be arranged.
For getting rid of the fluids.
Yeah, sure.
Get an oil drum.
Sure. Okay. What else? Look back at the doc video. Oh, this is a big piece of news that just broke. As of the time we're recording, a little bit before the morning of. Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was supposed to release, I think, in October, has been delayed. February 14th, 2025. Now, there's something that really bothers me about this letter. Can you tell what it is? Let's see.
The formatting.
Yeah, the formatting. Yeah.
Formatting.
Yeah, the formatting, because I'm reading it and it bothered me.
It's like you be buffed. What the fuck is this? This is like something you'd see on 4chan with the formatting. Nonetheless.
Yeah, at the very least, like put another space between that one paragraph that ends a little bit early. You know,
I mean that's what I'm saying. Like that's the whole thing. It's like there just needs to be a space there. Just my eye has been drawn to it. I can't stop looking at it. Like how did you want to see this? Anyway, it's a shit. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed to February 14th, 2025. This is what they say in the statement.
Thank God, though.
Quote, "Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us, finally bringing this series to feudal Japan with many new developers in our community in mind, such as hardcore and stealth brought by new technology, all set in the person's world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of your two unique protagonists when we realize we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some more key features as such. We made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14th, 2025. The game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam.
Aditya, I'm not sure that's how you say it, but hey, what's up?
So, interesting. Dustin, there were rumors days ago that they had removed themselves from the PGS preview list. They're supposed to go people. I think supposed to go.
I need one of these keys
It's very usual. Cancel something happening.
for the next match.
Press event. Then I did see people were saying like, did Yotai, whatever the fuck that game's called, I have to get used to that ghost of Tsushima 2. Did that scare them off too? I'm like, no, probably not. I think the game is probably in bad shape.
Yeah, they hit a milestone, clearly.
What's going on? And I put this link in there because you guys didn't see this. Ubisoft
And something's fucked up.
updated financial targets for fiscal year 2024 and 2025.
Cool.
And they say something really, really weird.
Right on?
That I thought was strange. This comes from Kizuto Mabu, who's obviously the co-founder of Ubisoft and the CEO
Forward.
and a major owner of the company. He says, quote, "Our second quarter performance fell short of our expectations, prompting us to address this swiftly and firmly with an even greater focus on a player-centric, gameplay-first approach and an unwavering commitment to the long-term value of our brands. Although the tangible benefits of the company's transformation are taking longer than anticipated to materialize, we keep on our strategy, focusing on two key verticals: open-world adventures and games as service native experiences, with the objective to drive growth, recurrence, and robust
I got
cash
an
flow.
email from Ubisoft a few days ago about a survey for open world stuff. I need to take that survey, see what they want, see what they're looking for.
Aimed at further improving our execution, both games' player-centric approach, and accelerating our strategic path forward towards a higher point model to the benefits of our stakeholders and shareholders. This is where it gets really interesting. Finally, let me address some of the polarized comments around Ubisoft lately. I want to reaffirm that we are an entertainment-first company, creating games for the broadest possible audience, and our goal is not to push any specific agenda. We remain committed to creating games for fans and players that everyone can enjoy. End quote. Interesting. Very interesting indeed, Dustin. What do you have to say about all this?
Oh.
Yeah, well, I think probably a big part of it is potentially the reaction to
It's all right.
Star Wars Outlaws.
Keep playing.
Maybe it could have used some more time.
I've been gaming for 40 years, so I kind of feel comfortable on the controller and
pushing it into the same year as
yeah, I consider myself a pretty good game player.
Affect people's purchasing decision, but obviously you don't want to be any closer.
I think my credentials can back me up. Just take a look at my trophies.
It's going to be much better than this. So the comments about speaking to, saying we're not speaking to an entity.
And before trophies, I racked up like a 40K gamer score on Xbox achievements. But then I've been all PlayStation since PS4, so. Yeah, it's like me and my brother, we wish they had trophies and achievements dating all the way back to like fucking Nintendo, like all the games we've completed that like no trophy attachments. It's like you have to take people at their word for it. Or load up your save and show them your fucking Mario 64 full 100% all-stars. Yeah, well, hey, same. I just started this game like 4 days ago or so, about 4 or 5 days ago. Played it originally on PS4. I didn't get as far as I did on that version than I have this version. Like, I've already beaten a playthrough and stuff, so we're coming along. We're moving along. Attempting trophies, platinum for this. We'll see how it goes. So far, it's going good.
And we're trying to push any agenda is interesting, just because it's certainly talking about, the Black Samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows and how that's been a bit of an uproar. But I don't really know if it's worth saying anything at all. If you have that vision, stand by it and do it. To me, the whole drama was never going to affect the sales of this game. It's a lot of really loud people online, and certainly some people will choose not to buy it because of it. But when I think of the majority of Assassin's Creed fans, which is a much more broad
my podcast I'm listening to, new episode of Sacred Symbols. Or the latest episode.
Online, I don't think they really care.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was weird to address it too in a formal way like this, because it does feel like, I don't know, the internet, we talk about a lot how like the internet doesn't really capture how the broader, casual audience feels. But like most people who play games don't pay attention to any of this. Like, most people who play games don't care about what's going on. Most people who play games don't even know what studios are owned by who, or like what studios make who, or like they definitely don't know who you know, who the art director is on whatever, and whether or not they're pushing in a like they don't give a shit. They just want a game to play when they come home from work, and, you know, to relax or just to get online with their friends, do whatever, you know, like. So addressing it, I thought was maybe a little bit bizarre, but I guess if you're clued into the industry, you're going to be hearing more of this than your average person, and so I can see maybe it might get under your skin a little bit, especially when you know this is not what you're just trying to make money, you're just trying to make your game. But I think you would, at the same time, I feel like you could demonstrate a little bit of restraint in feeding into that at all, because you know that this is probably going to feed into more of that than anything else. The idea that they even addressed it in the first place is like giving attention where it doesn't really need to be. But yeah, I mean, I think this is largely a response to Outlaws. I feel like that game probably isn't as bad as a lot of people are probably assuming.
Outlaws is pretty good.
I've seen people say that they enjoy it, but it's definitely like underbaked. Like it's definitely
Well, I mean, I agree with that.
By a couple of extra months of work, and
that's Chris Argon.
You know, Assassin's Creed.
Well, I mean, I love everybody on this podcast. So I highly recommend this podcast, you guys. These guys are like no bullshit fucking gaming people, and they get a lot of hate from the industry just being associated with Colin. For people don't like him for some reason, but I've been following Colin since his IGN podcast Beyond days, starting like around the PS4 generation is like when I started listening to Podcast Beyond, and I found them. Greg and Colin, and the fallout that he had with Kinda Funny. He was like a co-founder of Kinda Funny. And this is his company, Last Stand Medias, and it's Colin, Chris, and Dustin. And the podcast started with Colin and Chris. And Chris and Dustin, they game on everything, not just PlayStation. Colin's the only one of the three who's like diehard PlayStation, because he covered PlayStation for IGN.
Level of underbakedness as that Star Wars game. Like you just get there. I feel like there's too much pressure on this game to launch in that way. I don't know how important this game is to them internally, but culturally it kind of feels. I don't know, this is the first Assassin's Creed that I've been kind of side-eyeing, or that I've been like looking at, just because I see some of the stealth stuff they're doing, borrowing a little bit from Splinter Cell. It's like that looks like something. It's unfortunate that it's going to be in the same year as Ghost of Yotei, but I mean, I'm always in favor of a delay. You know, if it'll make it better.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is enormously important for them, and I think they're spending lots and lots of money. Ubisoft is just so clearly bloated beyond belief that I don't know how they employ so many people. I think it's
nice.
18,000.
Nice, Wesley. I'll have to keep an eye on that.
There's no way you need that many people working on your games. Like, you got your Tom Clancy stuff, that's going to be a few thousand people. You got Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, that's going to be a few thousand. Because one of the major things they do, and I understand this, is that they control outsourcing in some way by having like a shit ton of just external studios that they own, and they operate, and they find efficiencies doing that. But it just seems like such a bloated. You have these IP. We got a little bit of clarity actually in their statement.
Yeah.
Like open
it's all right.
games as a service, and I'm like, yeah, you're good at those actually. You're good at open world games. You're right. We make fun of Ubisoft, but Ubisoft open world games are basically iconic in terms of what they've done to the industry and how games are designed towards what they were doing. And I still think Far Cry is one of the great open world franchises in my opinion ever. But I also just out of pure fun, like just
Far Cry 6 was really good.
Playable, exciting series in my opinion. Always has been. And but I know people love Assassin's Creed and all those other things too. And then your Tom Clancy stuff and your games as a service, they have some. Rainbow Six Siege is one of the greatest games as a service successes ever. So it's not like they don't know how to do something. They just gotta really They got tighten.
Exactly. They got tightened up.
So. And of course we lost.
Tighten this shit up.
We lost the Division, at least the spin-off, the Division game. We'll still get the Division 3, but I was really looking forward to that. Motherfuckers.
Oh, the hardware.
Yeah, it really was. I was unusually excited about that. We'll have to be patient. Alright, two more quick stories for you after leaving around.
Oh.
Level 5, they have an RPG called Decapolice that's been in development forever, and it's been delayed to 2026. This is another one of these delays. It's funny that it has been delayed to 2025. They're just pushing it all the way to 2026, but I thought you'd find this funny. I was just reading about it and I found the Nintendo's, because it's coming to PS4, PS5, PC, and Switch. And it's a pretty cool game. It's about a detective named Harvard who's like hunting criminals in kind of this open world, anime open world, where you go in and out of like virtual reality. It's pretty, not with your virtual reality, it's kind of stuff like in-game. Think of like .hack or something like that. And over on Nintendo's website, it says Decapolice, a crime suspense RPG from Level 5, developers of the Layton series, will be released on Nintendo Switch.
What is this?
$2023. What the fuck happened to this game? Holy shit. I would love to know how something like this could have gone so terribly wrong. Or maybe they just have new ideas for it, or they got a fusion of cap or whatever, but I think this game looks really cool. Decapolice, highly recommend people check it out. I love Level 5. Talking a little bit before the show, actually, Dustin and I, about how they've, and his perception, and I think it's accurate, kind of fallen off. They've really become like the Yokai Watch studio. And just
oh, yeah.
Man, legendary.
I think, though, as long as you hit the number, so, like, if you hit 60, if you get hit after that, like, I think it still keeps, like, for the reward at the end. Like, I think you just have to hit the number. You don't have to end with it.
And then worked on a bunch of other stuff. So I love Professor Layton. I'm really waiting for those games and hoping and praying that they do
make the time after the boss
on PlayStation at some point, because Nintendo is the international publisher of them, but as I understand, Level 5 of this Professor Layton. And of course, Nino Kuni was awesome. The original Nino Kuni was just excellent. And that,
but this lady,
series
her person,
going to become the PlayStation in the West, the soccer RPG, which is a really cool game as well. And I know that our friend, well, actually, who wasn't? Yeah, I think it was Jason at Atari was the one that liked that game Megaton Musashi that like no one played, but it was supposed to be pretty interesting as well. So anyway, Decapolice 2026, that's one thing, and then just a shout out to Atlas and Vanillaware. Unicorn Overlord 1 million is sold. They have a really hardcore, dedicated database that buy their games. 1 million is always about what they reach, it seems. So congratulations to them. But my friends, it's time now to get to what we're playing. Then we'll get to the news, which is all the state of play stuff. There's a lot to talk about still. Before we get to what we're playing, though, I wanted to read this. It's the secret letter from an audience member. I didn't want to put it in the document because I didn't want anyone to see it.
Moonflower key.
Dustin, I think you like this.
What's that for?
It says, hey,
yeah.
I'm the developer of Pilgrim, and just wanted to reach out and say thank you to Dustin for mentioning it on the podcast last week. I've been a listener since the beginning, and I've never felt compelled to write in, but I couldn't stay silent when my own game got a mention on the show. Dustin might be interested to know that if it weren't for him, Pilgrim probably wouldn't exist. I first heard about it when he mentioned it, and after giving it a go, I felt particularly inspired to make my own twist on the lethal-like genre. So it truly helped me circle for me having my game mentioned on the show. I hope Pilgrim is providing some great respite during what must be a tough time for Dustin, and I'm so glad he's back. Anyway, I'll wrap up now with a quick thanks for all the years of quality shows that have kept my company on the highs.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cheers from sunny England. Keeping my fingers crossed for a London show a live show next year. I think but I didn't want to have that in the document because I didn't want to spoil it for you. What do you think of that?
That is honestly one of the best letters I think I've ever heard on the show. It's so crazy.
That's awesome.
And I didn't write it in here, but we did complete Pilgrim just the other day. We got to the end of what's currently available, and from me, from Brad, Ben, our Brandon who played with us, and also our friend Justin,
Damn.
We thought, dude, this game rules.
I'm gonna have to check this game out.
It's very early access right now, so you kind of got to take that going in. Like, we definitely hit some bugs, and there was a point where, like, I think we've seen.
Yeah, it's funny though.
Pretty much everything this game has.
It's awesome.
But it wasn't in a way. It was a disappointment in that we wanted more. So we were, when we're done, we're like, man, we are excited for more updates of this game, just because Lethal Company's great, but we felt that when we played Pilgrim, that it was from someone who liked Lethal Company and realized its shortcomings and put those, fix those shortcomings in Pilgrim. So the fact that I was a listener and that I had something to do with, I guess, the creation, that's insane. Totally insane. Love it. We'll be keeping an eye on the updates. And
oh, yeah.
Just insane. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Amazing. I can't find it. The studio's Desperate Measures. Write it again next week, and I'll read another letter for you when you're listening to this. I'm so sorry. I just copied and pasted it, and I forgot to put the name. But okay, I'm glad I kept that secret from you, so that you wouldn't know.
That was masterwork there. That really caught me off guard.
Oh, good.
Love it.
Good. That's great. Okay, so first of all, Chris, it says you're not playing anything, you're traveling, so that makes sense. So.
That's awesome.
So nothing to add this week, which is fine.
Yeah, not really. Like, I'm still, like, I'm in the middle of Mass Effect, and I feel like if I could start something here on, like, my series.
The only boss I've beaten without taking damage.
It's such a dense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to put it easy. And also, I got a lot of stuff to do here in a short period of time, so taking a bit of a break. I think I played a little bit of, like, Gears 3. Like,
yeah, that's fine. Gears 3 is great. Yeah, it's great. I played it. All right, Dustin, stick with you since we heard. I think I should have called the creator. So it says here you're playing Vampire Survivors still as well, and then Final Fantasy 6. Very clear. It's number 6, but I did see Platinum Vampire Survivors. Am I right?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. Did you get all the trophies, or are you still missing trophies?
Of the core games, so non-DLC, there are maybe 2 or 3 trophies that I still could get, but not required to get the platinum. And I'm off the sauce of Vampire Survivors for a bit, because it was getting to the point where I knew the platinum was getting close, I knew what I needed to do. So I just really dug in and thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. All this different, it's not a grind, but you gotta have to unlock everything in the collection. You have to do tons of different runs to try to get different weapons, different stuff. So I really went hard to the point where I was trying to explain it to Ben yesterday when we were driving to Pittsburgh. I think I said I was wasting.
Dude, it kind of stunned you. You can stun lock the boss with this weapon. Is that all bosses?
At the end of the day, like, man, I played Vampire Survivors for 3 hours straight, and I would have liked to, maybe play something else, watch a show, read some manga or whatever. Didn't do any of that. I just play Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, but when the ice grenade's cool, I like it, but when it unfreezes them when they take damage, but that's where kind of the ice bow comes in. I love the ice bow, but I usually do either the frost magic weapon or an ice bow paired with an ice grenade, and having the root grenade is also good because it keeps them in place on that. At least that's the strategy for that boss. But trying to get like Timekeeper, or I think I could probably get Conjunctivius down. Like, I think I could probably get him without being hit soon. The tentacles are the only part that gives me a little bit of trouble. I think I can dodge the green goo. I just need to get better at anticipating the... Like, I know when they're going to happen now. It's just, for some reason, I have to get trumped up on trying to fucking dodge them and shit. Slumbering Sanctuary or Stilt Village. Well, we're just doing a straight boss run. I kind of feeling like I want to deviate, go Slumbering Sanctuary, but we're just doing a boss run. I'm carrying a shield and a starter bow in the backpack. but we're not going to change out the starter shield and go for that damn trophy.
Survivor, so it was starting to feel a bit gluttonous in my consumption. So I do want to play the DLC. I'm going to get to that later. The ending of this game is really cool. I'm not going to say anything about it other than I really like what they do with the end. And getting all the different combinations. This game was so much deeper than I realized when I had played it previously on Switch and on Steam Deck. And so once you really get into the nitty-gritty of this game, the strategy of it, I grew to appreciate it so much more than I did. So, what, $5 on PSN or really any platform you want? This is a no-brainer.
Starting at $4.50 when it came out, because they put it for 20% on the or 10%.
There's an Among Us DLC where you play as little Among Us guys, and I think that is fucking hilarious. So I definitely want to check that one out in the future.
Yeah, there's Contra, right?
And Contra.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll get back to that as well. I found the same thing where I felt like I was just losing time to it. It's something that I gotta play for a while. So yeah, I agree. But what do you think about Final Fantasy 6 or 8? You're just
I'm still so extremely early in it that I kind of almost didn't even want to write it, but it is something that I started, and I like it. I really liked specifically the Pixel remasters. Really nice package here, how they set it up, that there's options in the menu if you want to increase your experience and you need to level up but you don't want to spend all this time grinding, you can do that. The remastered soundtrack too, I was in the music player checking out the different versions, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna keep it on the remaster because they sound really good. I like the classic, of course. I love the sounds of Super Nintendo, but I was so impressed with the remaster soundtrack, I thought, why not? I'll keep it. And so, starting it out, it was fun because I was playing it, and Holly has actually completed this game long before me, a few years ago. So she was playing it and telling me about some different things, but I'm not even at the point, I think I just got to the point where, at the very beginning, you escape, and then you're in this castle, and right after that is when the more open world stuff starts. So I really just did the first hour. It's like the intro, but
Marshall Figaro. So you're very early. Yeah, man, I'm so excited. I'm really interested to see what you think. It's such a wonderful thing. I really, knowing you, I just can't imagine. So
yeah, it's been fun to think about it in the context of this was the game that came before 7, before the series went 3D. And so I don't remember, there's characters at the beginning that are called Biggs and Wedge. And Holly seemed to think, because she played it on the Super Nintendo Classic, and she seemed to think that those characters were unnamed and that they changed that for the remaster.
No, they were named Biggs and Wedge.
They were named?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the Biggs and Wedge are that's like a recurring thing.
It's like Sid.
Right, exactly. Sid is way more extreme, I think, in some way, but yeah, it's like that. There's Biggs and Wedge in Helpless 7.
Right, of course. So
and 8.
And that is changed.
Oh,
but I understand that is two pilots, actually pilots.
Yeah. So, but other than that, I was kind of waiting because New Zelda is out today on the day of recording, so I'll be checking that out as well. But in the meantime, I'm definitely gonna dive into more into 6 this weekend.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'll be really interested. I love the Magic armor, and it's just so stylish. To see it, I don't really want them to do it, but and I don't think they would, but to do a Final Fantasy VII style remake of it would be. I don't even know. And didn't they say that it would take them 30 years if they did something?
Yeah.
Because the game is so huge, and it would be. It's true. It's it would be insanity. But just to give it the Dragon Quest III treatment, the Octopath treatment, would be kind of neat. But I think Final Fantasy VI's cast of characters are amongst the best, if not the best, in any role-playing game ever. And it's amazing.
Later. Thanks for stopping in, man.
Text, portrait, and a chibi sprite. A 16-bit sprite, even. It's Locke and Celis and Edgar, and it's like it's just such good character work. Final Fantasy IV shines in that way too. So I'll be very interested to see what you think of it. 6 is so big, and there's so much optional stuff. Like I'll be really interested to see like when you get into it, like what you did and what you didn't, because there are things you can miss and things you don't have to do, people you don't have to find, and you really will. Yeah, man. Very good. Good. All right. For me, I played through and beat Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster over the last week. We were talking a little bit about this before the show as well. It is $50. It's a little bit hot for some people. I have to say about this game, I don't know where I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it on Summon Sign at some point too, but there's something very nostalgic about the very nature of this game, I think from a meta level, in that it's from 2006 and it feels like it's from 2006, but actually just because it takes place in a vibrant mall. And there's something secretly liminal and scary about it that never was true about it when it came out. It felt very... I've said in the past that the original Dead Rising, I never beat it. My friend, my roommate Doug got an Xbox 360 when we lived together when it launched, and Dead Rising came out the next year. And I think I said it on one of the shows, actually, where I was like, it's this, it was like where I looked at the game and I was like, oh, this is what games can be, actually. And I think I said something like it reminded me of the Rockstar game State of Emergency, but with like real intent. Where it was like, it wasn't you just fucking shit up, like there was no point. I remember being so disappointed in State of Emergency. It was heavily marketed with Grand Theft Auto 3 in the intro, so everyone saw it. Where I was like, wow, there's so many zombies, it's wide open, it's ostensibly open, and you can walk around the mall, and there's like a time component, Majora's Mask-like almost, and it's pretty nostalgic on that level, but I think that it feels like going back to that time in ways good and bad, but I generally liked it. It's fun to play. I restarted it a few times, actually, because it's one of those games where you can't waste time, and you need to know how to play it, what to do, and it's like, I'm so much better at this now, I'm just going to restart it. That's really going to happen, you know? And yeah, so I got a pretty good run through. I didn't get the best ending, which was like to get all 50 people out. But I did it for time though, and then saw like the true ending or whatever it is, or the A ending or something, and then I'm doing the mode now. You guys might remember the infamous mode on Xbox 360 to survive for 7 days when you had to do it in real time and you couldn't save. You guys remember this? This is like one of the most insane achievements to ever get. Because you can't die, and basically there's this mode where you do the mall and nothing regenerates. So like when you take food from somewhere, you would be able to harvest that in a regular game, but in this, like it just goes away for good, and your health is constantly going down, and you have to survive for 7 days. In the original game, you couldn't fast forward in time, you couldn't save or stop, and it took 14 real-time hours to do it, and you could fuck it up at any point. And so it ended up being like this really rare achievement. And in this game, they brought it back when you can make these quick saves that delete when you restart. So you can stay there and you can fast forward in time, which makes it much quicker as well. So maybe go for Platinum, but I don't know. Things are kind of like figuring out quick. Like Silent Hill is not that far away. And a few other things that I want to play. So yeah, I stayed really busy with Dead Rising, Deluxe Remaster. I'm so glad Patches wrote into us on Patreon though, because there's something I want to say. He says, hey, hello, Colin. Knowing you're playing Dead Rising, how sick is the soundtrack? From the early 2000s rap rock to the atmospheric moral arrangements, it's very much the 2006 era. And I think it was vital they kept it in, keep it on Capcom. Totally with you. There's a song where you're fighting one of the psychos, like the bosses, by a band called Hostile Groove, called Fly Routine. This is just classic rap metal, and I heard it like when I was playing the game. I was like, holy shit! That's really everything about it is so contemporary to that time. Contemporaneous, I should say, to that time. So yeah, I did notice that it is awesome. It's really cool. I'm really into it. I don't know if you guys watch this content, but I watch Deadfall content on YouTube. Dan Bell's one of them. Yep. I watch a guy called Fleabitten Adventures, which is a smaller channel. And he goes to like Kmart's and like all sorts of weird shit. And there's something about this game that touches me in that way too. I was even looking at it like I wish I had more time and inclination to do shit, but I was like, it'd be funny just to do like a tour of the mall video. Like, you like walk into every store. Like, there's a lot of detail, and you never really see it. You're always like in danger and needing to go. Yeah, because the time never stops. So yeah, shout out to Dead Rising.
I remember that being like a very special game for that reason. Like, I remember like genuinely being awestruck by the amount of detail in it, even back then, and just the amount of interactability everything had. I was like, this is perfect. Exactly what I want. I'll probably check this out. I am very attached though to like the original look of Dead Rising. Like I don't know if I love necessarily how like the art design has evolved in the upscale or like the remake.
Yeah, Frank West looks like a fucking weirdo in some sense.
Yeah, he looks like he'd be on one of those Predator videos that you love. So, yeah. So I don't know how I feel about a lot of that, but I am looking into. I'll probably play that when I get back.
Micah noticed this too. It's like, wow, they kept intact like a lot of the sexuality in the game that you didn't get with taken. I know some people are really claiming that they did remove some stuff, but I don't think it's intimate enough to know. There was.
Well, the one thing that I know is missing, because I remember seeing a bunch of people making us think about it, was in the photo minigame, like the photo minigame that's kind of in that game, you get points for different, attributes of whatever your photo is, and if you got like an upskirt or whatever, you would get like erotica.
Oh, okay.
Or yeah, I think that's not it.
Oh, I don't know that I mind that not being in it, but to each their own. If that's something you want to include it, but there are two particularly sexy characters, and they really do keep the mid-on sexualization of them in it in some sense, where like at one point you're with one of these girls and she's using a laptop on the ground like to talk to you, and she's just totally bent over. Like it's ridiculous, and I'm like, this is so funny because it looks so out of place, because really this kind of overt sexuality in games is kind of gone, and I don't really need it. But it was surprising to see it there, because I'm like, oh, that's one of the things I thought you might have cut back on. Like, little things like that are everywhere in the game that were not making fun of people, laughing about it as I was playing it. But Nelson was saying too, before we were, I don't know if you don't mind me saying, before we start recording, about the $50 price point, kind of walked at that. I do think it seems fair to me. I think maybe 40 would have been maybe more ideal, but no lower than that. I mean, the game is remade. Like, it's really doesn't look the same at all. It's actually, I don't know how much work it was to do it. I'm sure it was quite a bit. And it's not the most impressive thing you've ever played or seen, but it also plays a lot better, too. Famously, in Dead Rising, you couldn't shoot and move. So...
Oh, yeah, classic Capcom.
Right. And, yeah, so... And of course, a special connection with this game is that the father of Mega Man, this was, like, basically his last series, Keiji Inafune, before he left Capcom. He did Dead Rising, and I think Dead Rising 2 was the last game that actually got published, that he produced. So there's a lot of Mega Man, not a little bit, a lot of Mega Man in the game if you know where to look. Like, the strongest weapon in the game is Mega Man's arm cannon, but you have to unlock it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So I like seeing that. So I have Frank West right now dressed in Mega Man boots, like the Mega Man legs, and then like tighty whitey underwear, and like sunglasses and a cowboy hat, or whatever. And my favorite weapon's a katana, so I have never seen a katana on his hand. And yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. So I don't think we'll do anything on it, because I don't know if anyone else is playing it.
Brad and Ben.
Oh, really? So maybe something. I'll get in touch with them and see if they want to talk about it further. And then it's football season. Portal is back in play, like I said earlier. So I returned to Nitsugami, Path of the Goddess. I do want to see it through. My OCD is really showing in this game because there's so much to do on each stage. If you want, you don't have to. So you go to each stage, you beat it, and then each stage has like these 3 things that you can do to earn like extra experience points. So like, don't get hit, or do it this quickly, or kill this many enemies, or whatever. Do those. And then there are these things you find that unlock in each stage that unlock these little Dota-like things where you get items out of them. And then there are these secret black treasure chests that you have to find and dig up, and all the rest. So you just read these stages, and I'm trying to do each stage completely before I move on. It kind of drives me nuts. I'm doing it to myself, but it's actually somewhat perfect for the Portal. You just play it a little bit at a time, you put it down. And so I'm enjoying Nitsugami. I'm in a Capcom mode. I mean, they're both Capcom games. And I'm excited to hear that I think people that played Nitsugami liked it. I don't know if it's sold exceptionally well. It was on Game Pass, so I know that some people play it over there. But I do recommend it. But it is very repetitive, so you have to kind of get yourself ready. Alright, it's time to get into the news, which is the state of play. All state of play stuff we can talk about here and get rid of some notes that are needed. Alright, do that. But I do need these. Okay. So I didn't write anything up this week. I thought I would just take things in order they were talking about. We could just skip things over things if we don't want to. I have, by my list, 26 items, and I would say 22 of them are games, probably 23 of them, because there's some PS Plus stuff and some hardware stuff to talk about. Let's take them in order. We'll start with the opening of the state of play. Actually, what can we start with here? Yeah, let's just take the show, and then we'll assess it at the end. Let's do that. Yeah. So the show starts with a kind of a celebration of Astrobot and showing this wonderful new game from internal Team Asobi, and they tease some DLC coming later this year. So I have the PlayStation blog post up for this. This is a great source, obviously, for all this information if people want to go look at it. And Nicolas Doucet, who's the studio director of Team Asobi, wrote over there, and they thank everyone for the success of the game since the launch on September 6th. But he says, quote, "Today we have a little surprise for you. From this fall, we're happy to announce that Astrobot will receive 5 brand new speedrun levels at no additional cost. Check out our teaser trailer for a sneak peek of what's in store." So you can go on the YouTube channel for PlayStation and check that out. He says, to go alongside these extra levels, there will be 10 new special bots for you to rescue. These are obtained by beating cheeky birds racing against Astro. We're super happy to welcome the Helldivers squad, who will bring super democracy to the crash site, as well as Eve from slick and delightful PS5 hit Stellar Blade. You'll have to find out who the other ones are. And of course, there will be leaderboards, so you can compete with online with the whole community or with close PlayStation friends. Okay, so we all loved Astrobot. What do you guys think about this free DLC incoming? Very exciting, very interesting. Any reflections, Dustin?
I'm excited. I loved the speedrunning challenges in Astro's Playroom, and so they were sorely missed in the full game. So excited to get those. Disappointed that Eve wasn't a sexy Astrobot. Still time to fix that. So I was thinking, are the Helldivers 4 individual of the list you said 10, right?
Yeah, it's 10 new special bots, and yeah, it's the Helldivers. Welcome to Helldivers Squad. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So I was trying to think who else there could be. Obviously, well, I don't know. I mentioned this on the show before. I know people are very sensitive about who isn't in the game, but I will say Sweet Tooth on the game. So maybe this is his chance to, we got to give Japanese flowers here. We've got more, of course, creatives in the game, but would love to see Sweet Tooth.
Looking at the video again just to see how they did represent Helldivers, and it is just one Helldiver, so I don't know if that means that there's 8 or if it's 4.
I would imagine that it's probably 4, right? Like, for the game, it'll be like them in their own little world, maybe fending off defending, like some guy at a terminal, like pressing up and down or whatever. I could see it in my head already. I'm stoked about this. Like, any excuses I have to revisit Astrobot is a win in my book, and especially like with some challenge levels, up the challenge a little bit, some new bots. Yeah, I'm down. This is exciting. Astrobot's great. You should play it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that answers the Uncharted Wolf's question. Who said like who do we think the other characters are? He specifically wants to know if we think we'll get Square Enix characters. Still confused about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna happen, to be honest. Who else they could be? I don't know. So yeah, Sweet Tooth, maybe Gabe Logan was a really obvious one. I thought.
John Garvin.
Yeah, John Garvin's gonna fucking lose it if you
Don't be John Garvin himself.
John Garvin. The Astrolot. And then Jerome Ortega did write in and said, "Hey all, just wanted to comment that it seems like Sony might actually be embracing Astrobot as their mascot based on the quick animation that seemed thrown in at the beginning of the state of play. Signs that it's doing well. Looking forward to getting more content for the game. Thought it was a killer state of play overall. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, definitely a sign that it's doing well. I think they have something really special on their hands there. I don't think it's going to make them an enormous amount of money, but I think it's obviously clearly very profitable compared to what they paid for and what they spend on it time-wise, money-wise. Unusually efficient for modern PlayStation, especially first party. And I think there is a lot of people. Why wouldn't there be? It seems like everyone really likes it. Did you guys see that Kotaku article that was written about it? I actually didn't necessarily disagree with like how it could be interpreted that way. But the main line of this article is that it felt very like the celebration of PlayStation is actually very service level and meaningless. That's how I remember it being kind of said anyway, in so many words. But I actually like the subtleties of it. Again, I would have liked more, and I said this in the conversation about it on Sacred Symbols Plus, that I would have loved a lot of museum content, like really, like lots of write-ups and images and pictures and context. If you don't know, there's like no way, as far as I can tell, for you to even know who anyone is. Like, you have to kind of just assume that you understand the reference or look it up online. So I would have loved more of that, but I thought it was a pretty nice celebration of it. But I did understand how someone could look at it and say it's actually quite sterile. But I think it's pretty cool, and I hope they continue with it. Okay. Next up is the Midnight Walk, which is coming to PS5 and PSVR 2 next year from Moonhood. And it says over here on the PlayStation blog, imagine waking up in a handcrafted world where every fingerprint can be spotted up close, every molded twist and turn of play visible on the ground you walk in on the monsters trying to eat you. In the Midnight Walk, you awake as the Burntworm, a mysterious being who's dug themselves out of a muddy grave to find their purpose. They find it in Potboy. That's me. A little dormant lantern creature that you reignite and bring back to life. Together you must venture down the Midnight Walk, a perilous nightmarish highway, and along the way, survive 5 strange tales about fire, its life-giving warmth as well as its inherent danger. Oh. That's pretty interesting. Looks pretty interesting. I think a major surprise of this entire state of play was the focus on PSVR 2, which was heavier than I would have imagined, and a good sign that they want to continue to stick with it, and that's good. If they feel like they're going to be able to extract some juice out of that. So, Dustin, what do you think here about Moonhood's The Midnight Walk? Anything to say about it?
Yeah, well, growing up, of course, I loved clay animated movies like Nightmare Before Christmas, things like that. And so, for someone to do it, in the trailer, it says a handcrafted in clay. So I wonder if there was like made clay models, scan them into game, things like that. That sounds awesome. And the thought of it too, this is a game where it's like, man, in VR, that could be exceptionally cool. So I like what I saw a lot here. Curious to see more and check it out. I just love games that are bold in their art direction and art style. And so sometimes that doesn't always translate to a good game, but it's certainly good sign of it, at the very least, being interesting.
Anything you want to add, Chris?
Oh yeah, no, totally. I like people are sick of me talking about how important art direction is, but I'm gonna say it again. This is one of those things where I saw it, and immediately from like the first couple frames, first couple seconds, I was like, I'm in. Whatever this is, I'm in. I love stop motion. I love claymation. Those Aardman, Wallace and Gromit movies were like big when I was growing up. I haven't seen them since like probably the 90s too, which I'll probably revisit those just out of curiosity, but
English education, getting my master's, looking at a level that's first more respect for the community, but also to look at myself with that level of respect and to say...
Yeah, now that you can actually make a game in claymation, they really need to do a celebrity deathmatch game.
No, always had perspective.
Like they did before, but like now that you can actually do that style as a game, the tech is there.
From what I heard, it is authentic, like clay.
We need a celebrity deathmatch to return.
And just wildly ambitious.
Have like Kanye versus Kim Kardashian.
It's like it's time consuming to do. There's infinitely easier ways to do it. You could have gotten away with just making a game that's like styled in that way, just through sheer animation power. But to go that extra mile and actually commit to the, I was gonna say commit to the bit. It's not a bit, but commit to the style so heavily. That's like inherently. Like, that is kind of, like, they're owed my respect in some ways. Like, they kind of already earned it just by going down this really, really difficult road when they really didn't have to. So yeah, this is easily, like, one of the eye-catching ones for the show, of the show for me. From a presentation angle alone.
Alright, so that's the Midnight Walk. Game entirely made in clay. PS5, PSVR 2. Exciting stuff. Alright. This next one, I had forgot about this game, actually. It's Hell Is Us, from a studio called Rogue Factor. So, Rogue Factor is a studio that is nestled under a studio in France called Cyanide. And Cyanide makes a lot of like random sports games, like cycling games and stuff like that. And then they have a few studios underneath them, and Rogue Factor is one of those studios. They made a game.
This, I feel like, is one of the best weapons in the game. Is when you get the baseball bat with the it shooting arrows out of it, because it just makes it feel like you're actually kind of playing baseball and hitting baseballs at a bunch of people, as well as the melee hits. It's one of my favorite weapons here is when it has those affixes.
Most recent game was the 2020 game Necromunda Underhive Wars, which is a tactical role-playing game, RPG. And Cyanide, so Rogue Factor is under Cyanide, and Cyanide is owned by Nacon. Back in 2022, and I have the press release up here, Nacon announced Hell Is Us from the studio Rogue Factor, and they describe it as a pretty ambitious game that is being led by Jonathan Jacques Pelletier, who is from the Deus Ex team and one of the leads behind the old Deus Ex games. It's described as a third-person action-adventure game set in a semi-open world where the main character sets out to learn more about his past in a country ravaged by civil war. So the game was announced back then. At that time, if you read the press release, it was in development for a few years, it said already. And now they've shown it off again. So they have gameplay, first gameplay of it, in this trailer that played during the state of play. And it'll come out on PlayStation 5 in 2025. And the game on PlayStation Blog is described as, quote, a game that represents a bold evolution in how we, and they talk about the studio from the art director, design our gaming experiences. And I'm thrilled to share with you the elements that make Hell Is Us a truly unique adventure. We revealed the first gameplay footage of our game today in State of Play, and we're thrilled to hear your thoughts on it. We hope you enjoy the sneak peek. Just before we get to this topic, if you haven't heard, the game is a third-person action-adventure game set in a complex world that will challenge your intellect while we hope delivering a compelling and mature story. The game explores deep themes like civil war, human emotions, and family, so let's dive right in. With Hell Is Us, we decided to break away from conventional norms to offer something radically different. Unlike many modern games that guide players with detailed maps, quest markers, quest journals, and constant assistance, we've chosen to eliminate these traditional aids altogether. In Hell Is Us, you won't have a magical map or compass revealing all points of interest surrounding you, no markers identifying your next quest objective, no artificial or mechanical guides to orient you. Instead, we invite you to dive directly into the game's universe and rely on your own observation, reasoning, and intuition to progress. The environments are not there simply to decorate, they are there to communicate. Correspondingly, paying attention to what NPCs tell you is crucial, as what they tell you is actually organic information about what to do and how to do it. We call this concept player plattering, as it is opposite of silver platter. It represents our deliberate choice not to serve everything to the player on a silver platter with ready-made directions and answers. Instead, we want the player to gain full control of their adventure by exploring, discovering, and deciding for themselves. And quote, Dustin, what do you make of this?
The trailer, I thought, looked great on its own. I love third-person action games, whether they are more Souls-like or if they are more action-like. Jury's out on how Soulsy this one will be, but certainly a lot of dodging and combos and stuff like that. Everything you just read in the PlayStation blog makes it sound even better, even with the cheeky name of player plattering. You know, Colin, maybe with the Concord info, were you listener plattering?
I was listener player.
You were listener platter. You should have been listener platter.
They're not English speakers, so who knows, you know, how bad it sounds in their own language. You know. Any thoughts here? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, it looks cool. I'm much more interested. I forgot this game was even revealed. I don't even remember it at all. Oh, yeah, don't like the name. Hell Is Us. Something about it doesn't ring right to me, but...
Yeah, it's okay. Like I thought the trailer looked fine. I am kind of in this mode right now, and I've talked about this on some previous episodes where I am kind of man with stick. I'm kind of man with sticked out at the moment, like with the third person kind of soulsy action. But it'll be a while before this is out, so shouldn't count it for that. I thought it looked fine, but that extra bit of detail from the PlayStation blog is a lot more compelling to me. Because that's the kind of design that I want to see more of. And so, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm into it.
Well, Hell Is Us comes out on PlayStation 5 in 2025 from Rogue Factor and developer Rogue Factor and publisher Nacon. I think I'll really check it out, because if I think about what I like, if difficulty can be split up into like a pie in slices, right? And there are different ways things can be difficult, like brute force difficulty or like combat difficulty. Think about platforming difficulty and all the rest. Obscurity, like making something obscure, is not a turn-off to me. I don't want to solve puzzles, but I love exploring. Like that to me is fun. If the game is just like Fallout, but it doesn't give you any guidance, like no guidance. Fallout gives you minimal guidance too, but like nothing. That's actually kind of cool. That sounds interesting. You know what a game was that kind of tried to do this, although not to this extent? It certainly wasn't a marketing part of it, and the game sucks. Is Generation Zero. Like that was a game that didn't tell you anything.
Right.
But it just was also a bad game. So I can't believe I went back and tried to play it again last year. I think it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the fantasy of genuine exploration is really difficult to capture, but I think certain things really nail it, and I think minimal guidance is a good way to do it. Even just something as simple like, in Elden Ring, you get like a lantern that you can kind of hang on your belt so you can see in dark spaces. I almost like never use it, just to make myself equip a torch in the left hand whenever like I'm in like a cave or something, just because that action of just like lifting a torch up just to be able to see is really engaging. Like just like a compass, it's like, oh, we have to head to the north. It's like, how do you determine what north is? And there's no like beacon in the sky. Like, I love that shit. More of that stuff, please.
Yeah, looks dope. Sorry, I'm muted. Okay. Number 4. And we don't have to linger on this. We don't have to linger on any of these. We don't want to. Metro VR Awakening? Or Metro Awakening is really the name of it. First-person shooter being published by Deep Silver under the Embracer Group, developed by Vertigo Games. It's actually a really good studio for it. Vertigo is the studio behind Arizona Sunshine, which I think is widely considered one of the great kind of action shooters on VR. Metro Awakening VR comes to PSVR 2 as well as a bunch of stuff on PC 5 and
oh no.
Meta Quest 2 and 3 Steam VR 5 port. The PSVR 2 mirror port on Wikipedia comes out on November 7th. The game looks pretty cool. I'm kind of turned off of Metro right now, though, because I just really didn't like the third Metro game. As people might remember, I went back and tried to play it again earlier this year. I just don't like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too... Why did you do... This is not what Metro is, in my opinion. So I do know a lot of people like its openness and its weirdness. It's just not for me. Maybe I'll try again in the future. 4A is an interesting studio. In fact, I don't know if you guys saw, this is kind of inside baseball shit, that's why I didn't report it, but 4A was originally supposed to be sold by Embracer, and they had a buyer, and along with Sam, they were going to go to this one buyer, and then I guess the deal fell through, the sides walked away, and so 4A is actually going to stay, which I think is smart, because I think 4A has a lot of talent. Yeah, so any thoughts on this game? Are you guys interested in this? I don't know if you... I don't recall if you guys were Metro fans, but I do like Metro 2033, and I do like Metro Last. I think they're great games.
Yeah, I mean, Metro, to me, Metro and VR feel like a really good fit for each other. There is something about that marriage that seems very, very coherent and very at home. And it looks like, Colin, I mean, you talk about Metro Exodus being kind of confusing. I kind of agree. Because it doesn't really feel like it's designed... It doesn't really feel like it complements being open, as well as other games might. But this being a VR game, I would have to imagine that the scale is probably pretty confined. So this is probably going to be a lot more of a linear, more focused game than Metro Exodus, certainly, because it is in VR, and the scope is just inherently a little bit more limited. But yeah, this looks cool, man. I think even just elements of how Metro plays, like even just like the pressing a button to wipe the grime off your mask and stuff, it feels so VR coded already that I feel like it's probably going to be good. Yeah, it's probably going to be really good, actually. I don't know. It seems like it would work really well.
Yeah, I love this trailer. I mean, I've loved the trailer so far that we've seen from it. I've only played Exodus, and I really enjoyed it, so maybe I would like Metro even more if I played those first 2 games. My only concern is I am a wimp with VR horror games. And this one definitely looks spooky and scary in a lot of ways. I still would like to try it. I played all of Resident Evil 4 in VR, and that was, I mean, that's not really that scary of a game.
Yeah.
But when something's up in your face, unexpected, you know, that's still it's definitely much more intense in VR. So I'm curious about it. I might wimp out on it, but it looks great.
Colin can't unmute, apparently. What the hell?
But I wonder if the button is just not...
Is the button stuck, maybe? He's typing in our chat right now. I guess we'll stop.
Yeah, I guess we'll stop and he can reset. Okay, hold on, just typing. This is going in, Lock.
Yeah, I want to know what he's gonna say.
Oh,
right there. Okay, use any controls. I can't even turn it off.
Okay, we're gonna stop. We'll be right back.
Alright, so we're back. Sorry, I keep muting myself and unmuting myself. It's probably confusing, or maybe confusing it in some sense, I don't know, but my Zoom recorder, maybe I have so many fucking notes open. Constantly bringing things in and making things in that I didn't want to come through so much, you know, so I was trying to politely move it, nonetheless. Alright. So are we going to talk about Metro VR, I think?
Yeah.
So next up is Arcade Chronicles. I don't know if you guys care about this. I actually had to do a little bit of research on this. Arcade is an MMO RPG that's on PC and has been out in the US since 2014. It's self-released. And back in 2020, they announced that they were going to do a game called Chronicles, I think. And this thing has been kind of developing for a long time. So XL Games and Kakao Games. So to put a little bit, XL Games is the developer, Kakao is the publisher over in South Korea, are thrilled to announce, according to a press release, the official unveiling of their highly anticipated online action RPG, now titled Arcade Chronicles. Revealed as part of Sony's PlayStation State of Play event, this new title reflects the game's evolved vision, providing a rich, expansive, and persistent world with the thrilling, fast-paced elements of an online action RPG with an immersive cinematic and ever-evolving story told through the player's eyes. And it'll be on PS5 as well as Xbox and PC via Steam. And it says here, so to kind of fill people in on what's exactly going on, Arcade Chronicles, formerly known as Arcade 2, is the next evolution of the critically acclaimed Arcade series. Building on the legacy of its predecessor, this new title introduces players to a seamless open world filled with adventure, epic battles, and endless possibilities. The game is developed from the ground up with the power of Unreal 5 to deliver stunning visuals with an immersive gameplay experience. I don't know if you guys have ever heard, I've only heard about this game in passing. I've never obviously been exposed to it or played it. It's been a while. So, I think it's still... Yeah, actually, it says here on Wikipedia, the Wikipedia page, well, the original Arcade will go down. It went down to June 27th, so it seems like, so it was up for 10 years. It seems like this will be the next one. Any interest in this? Probably not, but I won't look on.
Yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous. I will say that. Like, I think the presentation is like really, really stellar. But again, it's just kind of my mood right now is just like it's man with stick, and I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good on these right now.
Yeah,
good.
The combat, especially when you're playing as that big boy. At one point in the trailer,
hey,
it reminded me of God of War in some ways. But this could be fun. I'm always down for new multiplayer games to play with the boys. But when I watched the trailer, I had it on this morning. I was reviewing some of the trailers, and I told Holly, it's what you guys were saying earlier, like generic fantasy. This looks like the most generic fantasy story ever, and that's kind of a turn off, but the gameplay and multiplayer is fun, then I would check it out.
There's a lot. That big character that you were talking about that reminded you of God of War, like, when I saw it, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with For Honor.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of reminded me of For Honor a little bit, too, where I'm just like, I kind of see what's going on here. That looks cool. I'm good for right now on these.
Yeah, it's not worth. I mean, it's just anecdotal, but there doesn't seem to be an enormous amount of interest in the game, at least on PlayStation blog. The trailer on PlayStation YouTube now has 200,000 views over a day, so not terrible. All right, number 6, Power World, out right now on PlayStation 5, if you care, from Pocket Pair. Interesting wrinkle to this, I don't know if you guys saw, is that the game is not out on PlayStation 5 in Japan, where the lawsuit between Nintendo and Palworld, or Pocket Pair rather, is going on. I would like to do, I don't know if we have much more information on the suit, other than that it's over patent infringement, which is interesting. So it's not over the character designs, I don't think. It's over something else. It makes me feel like how, who was it? The American government went after some mobster for tax evasion, right?
Oh yeah,
Capone, right? That's who it was. And everyone, it's like, well, that's how we just got him. It almost has that kind of feel to it, you know.
It's funny that this is happening now, because I saw a lot of people being like, well, why is it happening now? They've had so much time. And the image in my head, a very clear image in my head formed of Miyamoto saying a good lawsuit is never rushed.
You should have tweeted that out. That's a good one. I should have. I mean, I hated that argument when I saw people making that argument. I'm like, why did it take so long? They're preparing. They're doing their due diligence. And what are they just going, oh, you're first doing it. We'll figure it out later. I mean, they had to dot the I's and cross the T's. I mean, I don't blame them. That's why you don't have to make a claim a week after something happens.
Oh yeah, of course. I think it's just from a lot of people's perceptions, fairly or unfairly. Nintendo's very quick to go after things, you know.
I wonder what will happen. Yeah, this seems pretty serious. I mean, if Nintendo is suing me over patent infringement, I'd be pretty scared. Because I just don't feel like they would come after you if they didn't feel like they had a case. But it's also true that they patent, like, the most ridiculous shit. And it does seem like they're going after, like, a company because they can't get them where they really want. You know? And
yeah.
But I thought it was kind of silly also when people were like, see, they can't do anything about it. I'm like, oh, they will. They'll figure it out. And ultimately, I guess they did. So I'll be interested to see how this all evolves. I'd be very, very intrigued to see what Hope has to say about this game. Down. That would actually be a pretty good Sacred Sons Plus. I don't think, because now the game's on PlayStation. But we don't need that excuse anyway. I just think it's an interesting chat to have about that. Palworld. I'm just going to write my notes. Palworld Hope. Hope I know what that means. Yeah, so are you guys going to check this out? Probably.
No, I have it on PC, and I'm done with it. So.
Alright. I was very, very excited about this next one. And it's really, I was pleasantly surprised that it's actually happening, which is that the Lunar Remastered Collection is coming to PS4 and PS5 in the spring of 2025. I must admit, I am such a huge nerd. Mike was there. His first shot. This is the third party. It's like the role playing games on PS1. So my mind's that I wasn't leading up with it. I'm like, okay, my mind's calibrated. They showed that first shot of like the planet and up on the blue sky. I'm like, oh my god, it's lunar. Like it was something to me. And I was like, there it was. Okay, I can't believe it. These games are. I can't tell you how deeply nostalgic the Silver Star story is, and Eternal Blue games are. These are really, really important role-playing games to me as a kid. That they look the same, I think, is a huge turn-on for me, actually, because I don't need them to be any different. They're really beautiful. They also have really beautiful, like, in-scene anime. I mean, these are Sega CD games originally, so they were trying to really show up and flex that. It wasn't until they reported to PS1 that I played them personally. Dustin, I gotta know what you think about the Lunar Remastered Collection. I was thinking about it.
Yeah, so I haven't played them yet, but I posted on Twitter. I was like, dude, I brought it here. I bought R2. Oh yeah, I have a comment on that first, but I'll say this first. I bought this in December last year. Here we are, less than a year later. Remasters can happen. It just keeps happening. It keeps happening. I buy an expensive game, it gets remastered. So
is that like a special? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So for the video audience, I brought for show and tell. These are the original boxes that these games came in. You'll notice that they are big and chunky, and they have lots of nice bonuses in them. And my copy, I made sure, because the OCD, I have to have them fully complete. Colin, you always mention the mask,
the stinky map.
Let's see, I mean, I know my map's in here.
Ryan Borlaug wrote in and said, "Hey boys, both the Lunar games are finally coming to modern consoles. When this was announced, did you get a hot nostalgia for that fucking map included with the PS1 game? I sure did. Can't wait to jump back into these games again when they relaunch. We truly have too many games to play. The map that came with Lunar Silver Star Story fucking stank. It stank. Like, it stunk. Like shit. Like, it was awful. And it was a thing. Here's the map. There it is. Does it still? It probably doesn't smell anything anymore. Hold on. Smell test. This kind of smells old. Yeah, like it right now. Like I remember it so wet. Yeah, wet.
It looks like it has. What kind of paper is it? Is it just?
No, it's cloth.
It's cloth. Oh, okay, all right. Because I'm looking at it as if it's like a piece of paper, like from. Like you would find in most game manuals, and I'm just like, that's unusually slack for paper.
But yeah. So these collections, you get the game. It's got a anime butt on the back, so you know you're in good hands there. And dude, it comes with these like really nice hardcover books as well that have different details.
So good. I mean, this was a game. It's just working designs, dude. We talked about them in the past. Working designs was so ahead of their game, like too ahead of the game. They're in the space where Exceed and Axis and NIS and Falcom and all these companies in the West are now. Falcom obviously being a developer as well. Working Designs was this mid '90s movement to get Japanese games into towards Western audiences, and they did a lot of TurboGrafx stuff in the beginning. But then they're the ones that brought the Sega CD Lunar games over. I think the North American release of the first Lunar on Sega CD was '93, and the second one in the West was '95. We got Lunar Silver Star Story, the first one on PS1 via Working Designs in the special edition in 1999. I remember I was at the end of my 9th grade year, and then the next year is the one that you're holding in your hand, which is Eternal Blue. That came out in 2000 on PS1 as well. These are both, wonderful games by the Japanese studio Game Arts, which is they're behind the Grandia series and a bunch of other obscure role-playing gaming stuff. They also did a really great launch era Vita game. You guys remember the game Dokuro? Okay, that was a really, really cool game. And so yeah, shout out to Game Arts and shout out to the Lunar games. So excited! I brought up the PlayStation blog post here, and it says. A timeless classic reimagined. The remastered edition brings a host of exciting upgrades, including widescreen support, enhanced pixel art, HD animated cutscenes, and all new English voice acting. The original voice. Players can choose to either go old school with the original edition or remastered.
Schedule.
Plus, a new toggle feature allows players to speed up battles, giving them more control over the pace of their adventure. While
I'm saying, are they going to reschedule their interview?
For the first time in the series, Lunar will be available in 2 additional languages.
What do you mean? You're the boss. What do you mean you don't know?
Heavy pieces of nostalgia. I can't imagine. I didn't play them on Sega CD, so if you did, you're even more OG than I am. But when these working,
so if they missed their interview, that could be it.
PS1, man. I had never bought a special edition like that before. I mean, it's so common to get things like that now, but it's and even deeper than that. But this was '99 and 2000. And these guys were doing
what if they couldn't
by getting these games
answer the phone
and localizing them in a really long way? Yeah.
Well, there's these two, and they're the.
Otherwise, sayonara, huh? No, I kind of ate them because they're really good. What does that mean, though? Okay, well, walking distance, there's cronies, and there's Jersey Mike's Sandwich Shop. And there's those places, too, that I'm not bringing up because I don't know their schedule, and according to you, they're closed anyways.
Some places take Tuesdays off, but like most ignorant off.
Well, do you want like a sub sandwich or do you want like crummy?
It would be nice if the disparity of quality of foods at Cronies was like a little more narrow.
Oh, you like
fucking chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, no. Bomb main courses, sides from Ralph's or Vaughn's.
One of those.
Sorry, Vaughn's.
It's like you task an elementary school child with like making the side.
Oh, right, the dollar store. That's right. Kraft mac and cheese from the dollar store.
And their potato salad was like seriously just mayo.
That's what I mean.
I was like,
the sides are par, but the main courses are good. Like you get a burger, or you get some wings, or you get some.
Their potato wedges are great.
Whatever. Well, yeah, like fry. You can't fuck up fries, really. You can go with sandwiches though too. Like I either or, like, you know, Jersey Mike's or MA is what's funny is Crony has sandwiches too, but I don't think they have subs though. Oh! Oh, wow. Oh. Oh, but those I miss.
Hi, Binkies. Time to go. Don't go outside.
I gotta take my dog outside. I'll be right back.
You know, they're basically the only games in PlayStation 1's library that come in this type of box. There's also the Ark the Lad collection that comes in a box. I don't have that one yet, but they're super cool just from a collector's aspect. It's like there's no other games that are like this. Now, Colin, I mentioned I was going to bring this up earlier. A buddy of mine, listener of this show, $25 patron Matt Flowers. We got to know each other through going to different local events. He lives not too far. Become a great friend of mine through the show.
Nice.
Very kindly corrected me at one point, said, Dustin, it's not lunar, it's lunar. And so I've trained myself to say lunar because I don't want to sound like an idiot. But then at the state of play, they call it lunar. So Matt, I know you're listening to this probably 3 weeks after post because you're always a little behind, but maybe you're the one who sounds like an idiot. Made me sound like an idiot. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm saying lunar now. So
it's funny. Like I used to say lunar when I was a kid, apropos of nothing, because I had never heard anyone say it. So I don't know if that's something like I read on the internet or just started doing. I also didn't. I must admit, like when I was in 9th grade, it's like lunar, like okay, the moon, lunar. Like I wasn't even just thinking. I knew it was the same word, but I just thought it maybe, and it was Japanese and exotic. So it's funny when you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it is lunar. I don't know. But then you said, oh, it actually isn't. It's very similar to how I had no idea how to say east until I used to call it wise.
Right.
You know, I had no idea what the fuck to say. It's YS. What the hell is that? I don't know how you even get east out of that, but okay. So you have to be corrected about these things. That's just the way it goes. You know.
It could be that the state of play said it wrong. I fully believe that's also a possibility. So,
really, I was going to say
yeah. Let us know in the audience if you care about these games lunar or is it lunar. You need to get to the bottom of this.
Dude, something that I'm thinking about looking at those boxes, man, it's just like, I feel like genuinely, if physical games came with, like, even a fraction of the stuff that they used to come with, I feel like more people would be spring physical games. You know what I mean? Like, I know that that's a collection. I know that there's a collector's edition or whatever, and so they're inherently a little bit more robust. But I think about the last game that I bought physically, and it was just like the normal version of Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, and it just had like a piece of cardboard in it. And I remember that moment thinking like, oh well, I'm not gonna get things physically anymore. Yeah. And I look at that and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, this is. I think this is the only way you can buy this. In this box, they didn't sell it as a non.
That's like the default.
Yep, this is the default thing. It's sick as hell. So
I never had a pre-order at a time when that wasn't really an issue. You know, I used to pre-order things. Actually, I used to pre-order games often because I liked paying them off ahead of time, and then you just go with your receipt and just get it. It just felt good. I don't know, like Funko Land or something. But I remember having, like, those were really rare and limited. And yeah, the sticky map I remember, and it comes with, I don't know if you use them or if they're in the box, but they come with sticker sheets too. And I had this shitty Toshiba laptop in the 90s that I bought on eBay. And I remember sticking them all over the laptop, so I don't have that sticker sheet anymore.
Toshiba laptops are fucking terrible.
Oh, they were the worst. That was my first laptop. This thing was running, like, I bought it just to dick around with it. It was like $100 or something, and it ran like Windows 3.1, and I was just using it to write, like in my bed, you know. So and then I would put things on like a floppy disk and bring them on my computer.
Mine had Windows Vista, so yours was probably better.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, I had a Vista machine as well. I had a Toshiba Vista machine that I got for when I graduated college. My parents bought me a laptop, which was a Toshiba running Vista, and yeah,
rough days.
All right. The next 2 or 3 we could probably go through pretty quickly. The 2022 really wonderful Dotemu published, tribute developed brawler Shredder's Revenge, the TMNT game, is getting some DLC. If people care about that, Radical Reptiles DLC crawls onto TMNT Shredder's Revenge. It's available now, and there's a trailer and some fun characters to look at if you want to check all of that out. I like that they continue to support the game. It's really fun. I went back and played it. I obviously played it heavily in 2022, but I went back and played it again it was either earlier this year or late last year, and it really is a fun game. My nephew Dash is really into it as well, and his friends play it, so the soundtrack is also available if you guys want to check that out. I assume you have no comments about this. So I had to look this up because I didn't realize this was happening. Shadow Generations is the upcoming Sonic team developed Sega game coming to PS4 and PS5 on October 25th. The Shadow, I guess, is coming to the game. This is meaningful.
Being surrounded by such scale.
We'll do the first season justice, I hope. It's good. Keanu Reeves, as he always used to do the voice, which is cool. I said, Mike and I were watching this presentation, and there's a shot where they show Shadow, I guess, from his perspective, and he looks down, and his legs, his little skinny legs are going into his like big shoes. And I was like, I hate this. Yeah. I said it out loud. I'm like, I hate it. Like, I hate it. And I don't know why it's like so visceral. Just everything about it. The game comes out the 25th. Just look forward to it if you like. You guys gonna play that one?
Come on now. Yeah. Come on now.
Under new circumstances.
Alright. And then next up after that is we can dwell on this if we want. Fantasia Neo Dimension, the game from Mistwalker. Sakaguchi, of course, producing. These were originally released on mobile in 2 parts on iOS in 2021. Pretty well received, but I don't play mobile games. This is, I guess, putting the 2 games together and releasing it as a single package under the name Neo Dimension. This is how I understand it. It's going to PS4 and PS5, and I think it looks pretty good. It has a release date of this year, actually, December 5th. If you go to the PlayStation blog, Hironobu Sakaguchi gives a little bit of an interview via Square Enix, which is ironically working with them to publish the game on console, which is pretty exciting. So I'll be looking forward to checking it out. I think it looks really clean. Sometimes it's nice to see role-playing games that aren't trying to do too much, but be traditional and accessible. And so I'm really, really eager to see what Sakaguchi has to say. Exercising these old school muscles. Are you interested? I know you're not, Chris, but I'm fascinated. You're gonna play this game.
I don't know if I'll play it. The experience I have with this game was actually Holly played a majority of it on iPhone, and she eventually got to the point where she was liking it, she just hated playing it on her phone, and so she just stopped. So she might be interested in playing it when it comes out, but I always really like the style, the fact that they made these handmade dioramas to put in the game is really unique. And it looks cool. It's cool to have the OG back making a game and finally having it properly released on a proper game system.
Alright. Sorry, I'm writing a few notes here. Next up, Dragon Age the Veilguard. Launches October 31st. This game just doesn't do anything for me. I really don't get it, but I'm really excited about it. There is a lot of controversy surrounding it. Jaffe and I got a little bit into it when we did an episode of Constellation recently, but I'm curious how you guys feel. We kind of intense levels of gameplay. Boss fight looks like with a dragon. See kind of a whole segment of what your experience might be like. Honestly, I'm not. It's not because of the controversy surrounding the game or anything. It's like I just don't care. And I really am curious to see if this game does well. It seems like it's going to, I think. But I don't know for sure. And it's gotten sucked up as so many things do into the cultural war as well. So, yeah, Chris, what do you have to say about Dragon Age the Veilguard? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the midst of a bit of BioWare kick right now. At the tail end of the Mass Effect trilogy. I never really got into Dragon Age, I think largely because I always gravitated more towards sci-fi than fantasy, even that's definitely true today, and it was definitely true back in the day as well. So Dragon Age never spoke to me. Dragon Age 2 didn't speak to me. I tried a little bit of Inquisition, but I kind of felt like it played a little awkwardly. Like it didn't feel that good to play. So I just kind of dropped it after a very minimal amount of time. But I don't know. I saw parts, not counting this specific section or this specific snippet of gameplay that I saw. I've seen enough of it to kind of feel like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, it looks like it plays reasonably well. I am kind of in a BioWare mood. Based on some of the previews, both by some people that I follow and just some people that, we all know personally, like, it seems like it's on a better track than a lot of people expected. So, I mean, I'm in some ways, I'm hopeful for it. I'm rooting for BioWare in some way. Like, it would be cool to see them kind of, reemerge from the ashes and make something that is, compelling to the general audience again, because it's been so long. I mean, Mass Effect 3 was the last game of any consequence that they made that really hit the mainstream, and even that wasn't without its fair bit of controversy associated with it. So I'm really curious about this game. I think this might actually end up in my library at some point, but I don't know how I feel about it exactly. I'll have to wait and see how people react to it. If it is this kind of celebration and this return to form, even if it's something like that settles around in like the mid-80s, I'll probably give it a shot, because I do like the way that BioWare designs their combat systems. I think it's interesting. I like the prime and detonate kind of combat model. I think it's really satisfying in Mass Effect. I could be into a fantasy version of that. I just also have no prior connections to Dragon Age, so I feel like it might actually... I feel like if anyone's going to be if anyone's going to be not disappointed in this game, it's probably me. You know what I mean? Because I don't have anything to compare it to. But I will say one thing that is noticeable is that the Canary look like shit.
Oh, what's the thing with the
like the horns? They ravaged that entire character. I don't know if like some Concord artist snuck into BioWare. I was like, let me get a crack at this. But there's no joke. That's definitely of all the things that I've seen about Dragon Age: The Veilguard, that is easily the worst thing about it. Easily, like by like a mile, is how they butchered that entire character type.
How about that? You can't have a bigger breast than an A cup. Does that bother you?
I usually just like pre-select anything.
Me too. I never use a character creator. I hate it.
Yeah, the only character creator I ever used with intent was, I think like Saints Row, and that was really just to make the most disgusting.
Yeah, right. That's
abhorrent.
Right, that's the point.
Yeah,
and I never use it to like make a nice character. When I played Mass Effect, for instance, I just used shaved head, standard
Shepard, like
Shepard. Yeah,
Shepard.
exactly.
Yeah, I used normal fem shep when I would go through it. Yeah, I don't know.
I do think that I personally do think that the controversy around like breast scars or whatever is like a somewhat worthy controversy, and that's like we should talk about like what is this, like what are we doing? And the one thing that bothers me about this, I said this to Jaffe, is I don't like that people are being like, well, what about people with breast cancer? I'm like, dude, no, you're not doing that. You know, like, you're not grafting what this is onto that. Because no one has ever in my entire life ever brought up that there should be breast cancer scars in a character creator before. You're not gonna like graft this social message onto that. It seems so disingenuous. We all know it's disingenuous. I want to be clear. You can do whatever you want in your own game, and I don't give a shit. It's like, not telling you to take it out. I'm not telling you you're wrong for doing it. If you want to have that, but understand you are sending a message. And that was what I was saying to Jack. I'm like, this is a message, and you got to take that. I guess not to go with bad. You have to take the heat if you're going to make that kind of message. But I don't like this whole thing of like trying to pretend that it's this other thing, or that it could be this other thing. It's like it's not. It's not. We know it's not.
I mean,
you know?
I mean, the overwhelming majority of that type of scar is for that specific reason. You know, like the majority of mastectomy scars are not for trans people. You know what I mean? I get that that's probably the reason why it's in there, because you would imagine that, you know, in the game industry in general, like, they're probably pretty well represented. You know, like I would imagine that most trans people aren't nerds. I don't know why. I just feel like it's true.
Well, I asked Jaffe this.
Positions like that.
I asked Jaffe this, and I'll ask you this too. Like, do you think it's a coincidence that the director of the game is trans?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so
but I also think it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, the people who are going to be making the thing are going to include things that, you know, apply to them in the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of inherently part of the sauce of how things are made.
Jaffe and I agreed that the way that you would have circumvented this entire controversy, because the controversy to him is that they won't let you have big breasts or big ass. That bothers him.
Yeah,
for me, it's the I don't think it's bothered me at all. It's just like, again, this is what I say sometimes. Like, I'm noticing.
No, that is pretty.
You know,
I would back Jaffe up on that. I think to me, it's like the whole point of the character creator is to have as many options as possible. So getting upset at an option being there is less justifiable than than being upset about having an option not there. Like, if you're going to have like the mastectomy scars there for whatever reason, it's like, sure, like some people like to. If they have that and they might want to make themselves for whatever reason, they can do that. If they don't want it, they can do that. But like, let me give my character a big ass and some big tits.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean. Like,
it's not something sliding my own hole, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So, what I was saying was that the way that in my opinion, they could have circumvented it. Jaffe and I found an agreement on this. It's like, if you want to make that message, just make it so that you can put scars anywhere on the body on it. And then people do that, and it's like, well, that's just a consequence of being able to put scars anywhere, you know? As opposed to, like, I find that this is what we were talking earlier about the Ubisoft thing, where it was like, I'm not trying to make. We're not trying to make statements. We're not trying to make games for specific kinds of people. It's like I can't help but wonder when you do something like this if you realize that that is a message. And it's not just. There's more to it than that. Whether or not it bothers you, another thing entirely. But I'm not going to be like scared away from this particular topic because people get upset about it. It's like again, I'm just going to say I noticed. Like you can't stop me from noticing and saying something about what you're doing. You know, whether or not it's meaningful in the world. Like I find it that level of scarring and stuff like that is more grounded in our reality. Like it would make more sense if you were making like some sort of open world quantic dream game or something like that, as opposed to going to Dragon Age. It's like, yeah, sorry, that's just the way I feel about it. You know. But,
yeah, I mean that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, the way I feel about it is just like if it's a character creator is meant to just give you as many options as possible. And I think they dropped the ball in just not having more options, really. But yeah, if for whatever reason people want to make, if they have scars like that and they want to like put themselves like one to one, because it does actually, to be fair to them, the character creator does seem like wildly robust. Like it seems like you can actually do like a lot with it. So in most character creators, I just assume that there's no way that I could recreate myself with any degree of accuracy because they've all been shit for a large part. I don't normally want to play myself in a game generally, but if I have the option to, it'd be kind of. I sometimes for meme potential, I'd like to see how that would look. Like how would Chris look in fucking the Bethesda creation engine? It would be so unholy. But yeah, I don't know. More options. Like put in an ass slider, man. Let's do it. Yeah. Give us a dumper.
Yeah. Well, dump truck. Dusty, anything you want to add about Dragon Age and stuff?
I was just going to say that I think this, I don't know if there's any, we can read the question still, but this was the last question on the 6 questions comments from Dan Excel.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so at the end of the show, 6 questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas come from the audience over on patreon.com/LastDayMediaWeekend. Every episode with 6 of these, and they'll be interspersed then throughout the rest of the shows you've seen. So we'll do 5 at the end. I guess I didn't intend on talking about this at this time, right? I just put this in the wrong place. But Dan Excel wrote in and said, hey boys, thoughts on the top surgery customization option in Veilguard? The inclusion of this feature raises some interesting questions. Dragon Age is a fantasy world where virtually anything goes, so where double vasectomy is really the only way these characters can have their breasts removed. And if it's about representation, why aren't bottom surgeries? What about transition scars for people that regret undergoing body mutilation? Let's say you have a great weekend. The thing about it is, like, I don't want to make a big political statement, and I'm not trying to. Like, about what I'm seeing here. It's just, again, it's an obvious observation. Like, I'm observing and reacting to what's happening. So, to me, it's like, I don't want to be like, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? It's like, why don't we just live in a fantasy world? And it's just so strange to me. That's why, again, I think the option would have been to put scars all over your body, and then some of the scars would have just been, like, on there. And then people would have been like, well, maybe a little weird, but it's like, fine, that's cool. And then you can talk about cancer representation and all that kind of stuff. But when you're doing this, like, not exclusively, but as a major point, as a selection.
Yeah. I do think Call of Duty ruined that flexibility. Like, because it used to be, at a certain point, like, you could pick your own emblems in certain shooters or whatever, and then Call of Duty was like, what if we just gave players the option to make their own emblems? And then it was... it's, you know, it was, you can guess what. So I think, or the modular. I think the 100% flexibility in being able to put anything anywhere on a model. That's Call of Duty players ruin that for everybody. So like I do think that's probably one of the reasons why that specific solution might not have been included, because somebody would just have the word like a slur scarred across their face, and like cutscenes for this major. That would be my assumption. You know what I mean? He's laughing, but it's true.
I know, but it's just so funny to think about, like, a really serious Call of Duty cutscene with, like, a horrible racial epithet, like, tattooed on your feet. There's something, and the camera just pans. Yeah, that's good shit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
I posted a link. There's a giant bomb forum thread. I'm looking through the most offensive. This one, I mean, it's just a dick, but I saw a lot worse.
Yeah, that's funny shit though, dude. Of course people are gonna corrupt it. Why wouldn't you? You know,
it's unfortunate.
Well, because it's like I remember in Bloodborne, I hate like the most ridiculous looking character, and that's part of the fun. I guess. Oh, whatever.
I have one more to show you. I can't post it in the show, but I need your reaction.
I think I know which one this is.
Imagine getting popped by somebody and then this person killed you and this was their emblem.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
It involves a penis. And much more obscene stuff.
Alright. What's next? Oh, anything else to say about Dragon Age of the Veilguard? Are either of you going to play it? Oh, so Chris, you said you're open to it. You're in a buy with it.
I might. Maybe.
Dustin, no, for you.
No, I tried the last Dragon Age game, found it to be painfully boring, and I'm always open to new games and series, but I haven't seen anything from this that particularly intrigues me. I'm really bothered by, and again, this has nothing to do with the political aspects that people are complaining about, but some artist did a mock-up where they shrunk their head slightly and it made their characters look normal. So now when I see the characters in this game, I can't help but think about them having big heads. And so, I mean, that's just one of many things that doesn't really intrigue me about this game.
It's like big head mode from like those old classic, those classic G. I think, for me, I honestly feel like how Maddie feels about it once it's out is going to be a pretty big determining factor for me.
Yeah.
Like if he's like, yeah, this is solid, I'll probably give it a shot. But, yeah.
Okay. Well, Dragon Age the Veilguard. I'd be very interested to see what people. I think Maddie liked it. Yeah. You said that?
He liked what he saw of it, but it's more about like, how he feels about the package, I guess.
Yeah. Good. Sorry, I was looking at something. Now I was having a right error where I couldn't mute.
Oh, man.
Alright. Alan Wake 2, the Lake House expansion, comes out October 2024. The release trailer for it on PlayStation Blog. But if you guys want to check it out, but it was in the State of Play presentation as well.
Oh!
Get to Alan Wake 2 this fall.
Man, why am I having bad luck on this level right now?
Any interest in this? It looks like a pretty odd, overt crossover into Control Land, which is cool. And I do like the game. I love Control. I think I was thinking, I was like, I even like Control more than Alan Wake. I think, and I really, really like Alan Wake. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And so I think it'll be a nice, convenient way for me to play all these packages at once and do have my Alan Wake 2 experience before I move on. So I'm looking forward to it personally. Any interest here from you, Chris?
Absolutely. But yeah, like this is a slam dunk for me. I loved the last DLC, although it was like a little bit more episodic, a little bit more split in focus. There was also a Control episode in that little episodic DLC. So I'm totally into what Remedy is doing here with this shared universe that they're doing. Like normally, like the idea of a shared universe between games, especially like post Marvel, would annoy me. But Remedy is so weird in the way that they implement the idea and in the way that they present the idea, and also just in like the concepts that they're exploring. I think are a little bit more heady and rewarding and a little more sophisticated. It's cool shit. And so yeah, I'm totally this is day one. I mean, I think I already own it. I'm pretty sure I don't think I bought like the special edition of Alan Wake 2 or anything, but I think I bought like the upgrade or something. So I think I have this waiting for whenever it's gonna come out. So yeah, I'm day one.
Anything for you?
Yeah, same. I haven't played the other DLC yet, and now that it's going to be Pro Enhanced, this will probably be one of the first things I play on PlayStation 5 Pro. So, very excited about it. Excited to dive back into that world. I've been thinking about that. I've wanted to replay it, but I just want to, at this point, wait until I can play it in pristine quality.
Yeah. Next up is, and this is 13 on the list, is Hitman coming to PSVR 2 World of Assassination. I was looking like this was the announcement of it, right? Because I couldn't find anything from earlier than this. But I don't know if I'm looking for the right thing.
It's hard to tell if I heard about this, if this was announced in like a press release, or if I just heard about this from somebody who would know before I was supposed to know about it.
It says here on the website, IO Interactive debuted a first look at Hitman World of Assassination on PlayStation VR 2 during the September 2024 PlayStation State of Play. Planned for release in December 2024, the PlayStation VR 2 version of Hitman World of Assassination will feature brand new VR features, including dual wielding, full ambidexterity, room scale implementation, as well as general improved VR experience. Through new intuitive controls and gameplay mechanics, players will be able to access the PSVR 2 version through an upgrade pack, available for Hitman World of Assassination owners on PlayStation 5. So basically, you already play Hitman World of Assassination, kind of the all-inclusive package that IO Interactive has put together over the last few years. And for $10, you can upgrade your package to be able to play on PSVR 2. So pretty appropriate price. And again, part of an unusual and unexpected focus on PSVR 2 that I didn't anticipate.
I'm a little confused by this, honestly. Like, because to be fair, everything that was shown for PSVR 2 looks really good. Like, I think all of it is pretty compelling. I thought that Claymation game looked pretty dope. I thought Metro looked really good. And this is Hitman. I feel like is another one of those games where I feel like VR does so much for it. I saw like in the clip that there was a guy washing his hands in the sink to get the blood off of his gloves, and I was like, that's so cool. I wonder if people notice. Like, I wonder if that's, like, part of it. Like, people will notice that if you have blood on your hands, if you don't... Like, that's really sick. But at the same time, this is coming at a time where I'm pretty sure PSVR is not a focus at all for that. Like, are they even building more? Like, I can't imagine.
I mean, I feel like this is a signal that they are going to stick with it for a little while. Or I don't know if they're just seeing through investments that they have to see through or whatever, but...
Well, that's what I mean. But
I don't see why anyone would even bother bringing anything to a completely dead platform if there was no intention of keeping something going. Maybe, I don't know. I have no insight into that.
It's just weird. It's just strange to see a big... Because we know how well it did, which is not super well. And so to see it still a prime focus, that's interesting,
So, the thing about Hitman VR, it's a lot of complicated releases with this. I believe with Hitman 3, they added PSVR support, but that was before PSVR 2 came out. In fact, I think it's one of the only times I hooked up my original PSVR on my PlayStation 5, and it wasn't very good. I recall, at least at the time, maybe they fixed this later, but you had to use DualShock. So, your hands, you didn't have hand control, really, and it looked bad, and it wasn't for me. Maybe there were some updates that made it better, but, so then, after that, they pushed that VR port to the PC version, and I don't have any experience with it, but apparently it was horrendous, because it didn't take advantage of a lot of PC VR features, like hand tracking, I think. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Then, recently, this month, Hitman 3 VR came out on the Quest, which was apparently worse than the PC version. Just looked terrible, tons of bugs. I'm looking at a Eurogamer article, and it says it's about as grim as VR games can get. I think I read somewhere that it was a porting studio that did that Quest version, so it's hard to say. So now we have the PSVR 2 version. So based on the track record, I wouldn't dive in for the $10 upgrade to get this until there's some reviews out, because Hitman VR has been very mixed. All of the right tools are there for it, with the hand tracking, the upgraded power of the PlayStation 5. So I'm hopeful for it, and the idea of playing Hitman in VR sounds great, but this has been attempted 3 times previously with the same game now, and none of them have been all that great. So hopefully this is the one.
Yeah, it's good insight.
All right. Number 14. This is a surprising one. Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered Legacy of Kain games. Being brought to PS4 and PS5 on December 10th by way of Courthouse Aspire. That's owned by Embracer Aspire. They poured so much stuff. They did that huge Tomb Raider collection earlier in the year, and the Battlefront collection that also came out earlier in the year, and they did a bunch of Star Wars ports over the last few years. They just focused entirely on porting shit to Linux, the porting shit to Switch, whatever. So they put this collection together, and of course, so Legacy of Kain, the original Legacy of Kain is Blood Omen. I think at the end of the presentation, if I remember correctly, they said Blood Omen was going to come, right? The PlayStation Classics.
Yep. Yeah, Blood Omen is a PlayStation Classic along with
Ooh.
Dino Crisis.
Right, Dino Crisis, right.
Ooh.
So, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver is
Hell yeah.
the second Legacy of Kain, and then
I didn't know
Reaver
that.
is the third game.
The original Blood Omen is going to be released?
Kind of get that, but these games are relevant because, first of all, they're relevant to us on PlayStation because Amy Hennig wrote these games.
Fuck yeah, she did.
Before she wrote Uncharted. And so that's an interesting little connection. But Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver came to PS1 in 1999. There was a Dreamcast port, actually. And then Soul Reaver 2 was a PS2 game that came out in 2001. Aspyr has put these collections together into one bundle. Like I said, comes out December 10th. And there's going to be a lot of remastering and control improvements, camera upgrades, maps and compasses, a photo mode, and of course lots of trophies, which is great. And they say something really interesting here in the beginning, and of course this is marketing, but I think it's true. They say in part quote,
getting the platinum for Soul Reaver 1 and 2 is going to be so good.
These cutscenes were rare. Soul Reaver had both.
That's what's awesome about these old games.
This one's a game that people really did love back in the day. So
they can now get officially put on record.
Crystal Dynamics games under the IDOS banner long before the Square Enix days. And of course, these games then went through Square Enix because Square Enix acquired Crystal Dynamics, acquired IDOS, and then they were relinquished along with Tomb Raider, as you guys might remember when Embracer was on their buying spree. And so, yeah, these are coming out through them, and I think it's really wise, and I think it looks cool. What I really like about this, and I don't know if you guys agree, is they don't look that much better. I don't need you to get crazy with it. I just need you to clean it up a little. You know, Micah was saying that to me, and I agree with her there too. So, Chris, I know you're excited about this. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm over the moon. This is again one of the last things from the PS1 that I really wanted to be carried over. I think the only thing left for me really is that is not available on like modern hardware is probably Medieval 2 and the Spider-Man Neversoft games. And I guess Pro Skater 3. Was Pro Skater 3 PS1? I don't think so.
No, it was. Was there? I thought it was. Well, I'll look up.
I don't know. I don't remember. But those. That's like the last. That's the last of it. Everything else I've ever wanted is.
Oh yeah, there is a. I played it on PS2, but there is a PS1 version of it. They came out the same day, October 2001.
I had the PS1 version, but yeah, it would be cool. I'm excited to play these. I never actually played Soul Reaver 2, so that's it'll be like getting a nice little hit of nostalgia and also like something new. I also never played Blood Omen.
Oh my god, you never played Blood Omen?
Game I've ever played, but
it's so good.
I remember it so fondly. There was something very, very captivating about that atmosphere, and I agree with the way that they're bringing these games forward. In the same
old school games like these, like Blood Omen, that's an old school game.
It is still visibly a PS1 game, but it's just a little bit clearer. It's just a little bit. It's got some TLC applied to it. It's not jittery. It doesn't have like the jittery frames that were like a big problem on the PS1. This is what I kind of want out of PS1 remasters and remakes. To be honest. This is kind of how I wish the Crash games looked. To be completely honest, like I like this angular, simple kind of look to everything. It's very nostalgic for me as somebody who really, the PS1 was like a big machine for me. So I love the way this looks. Super excited.
Sorry, I was muted there. Be careful.
Yeah, I don't.
Dustin, do you have anything you want to add to this before we move on?
I have no experience with either one of these games. I did get a copy of it within the last year, so Chris, maybe little powers combined here. But I'm interested in checking out. Looks cool.
Yeah, Logan from Memory Card wrote into us and said, Chris, from one Legacy of Kain stand to another, I'd like to congratulate you on willing yet another banger-ass franchise back into existence. You're doing the Lord's work. Please do me a favor, or a solid, he says, and become a Parasite Eve fan, so we can finally get a deal worked out to revive that franchise, too. That would be nice. Parasite Eve. I wouldn't be mad Square Enix. They seem to be fairly willing to go back to old games. Parasite Eve fucking rules, dude. Oh, Parasite Eve is so good. Love it. There's something about the late 90s and these horror games on PS1 that were, so uniquely scary. Like, for the first time I felt scared. Like, really scared playing something. And they weren't even that realistic. Well, you know, at all. If you go back and look at them, they look ridiculous.
There were games that weren't even necessarily scary on the PS1 that scared me. Like I talk a lot about that. Oh my god, the butler from Tomb Raider creeped me the fuck out. For no reason, like he's not meant. I don't think he's meant to be scary, but like I think it's just the nature of like how few audio tracks they could have playing and layered over each other. It's just really crisp footsteps, and then there's this low quality moan of agony. It's just like, oh my god. So many of these are scary for no reason, but it's a special time, that generation.
Number 15 on the list is
Number 15.
Blumhouse Games and Cozy Game Pals Fear the Spotlight. I went and did a little research on this game, and it apparently came to Steam last year and then was pulled offline.
What?
For an update, and the game will receive what. And so if you go to the Steam store, it says, notice, Fear the Spotlight is temporarily unavailable on the Steam store for a significant update. The updated version of Fear the Spotlight will release on October 22nd. See more details in the game's news hub. So that's the same day that it's coming to PS5, according to the State of Play, October 22nd. Over on Steam, the game is described as an atmospheric third-person horror adventure with a disturbing history to unravel. Sneak into school after hours with Vivian and Amy. Survive a seance gone wrong. Solve tactile puzzles, and whatever you do, stay out of the spotlight. I don't know if you guys were interested in this game at all, but any thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, this is the PS1 horror aesthetic that you guys were just talking about that looks really cool. What was that? Pro Country. Pro Country?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This to me, like, because I saw that they were. I'm looking at a video of it now, and I didn't know that they said that throughout the thing. It's like it's not. It looks too good. It's not really.
Yeah.
Like Pro Country actually does look like a PS1 game, and this is too complex. I mean, it still looks like not great, but it's too complex. It's too clean, you know. So it doesn't quite read the way I think that they think it reads, at least in my opinion. Because they're like Silent Hill and Resident Evil. Like this game doesn't look that. You know, not at all. You know, look how good it looks and like how clean it is. There's like no sharpness to the images and stuff like that. But yeah, it is similar style. It's pretty good. I do recommend people check that out for the right price. Anything else to say about this, Chris? That's PS4 and PS5.
Yeah, I mean,
what's up? It's on PS4 and PS5.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this was unveiled as like part of. What the hell was it? Was it Jeff Keighley's thing when they had like the Blumhouse guy, John Blumhouse, on stage to talk about like.
I think his last name is Bloom. Like,
yeah, it is Bloom.
Yeah.
But I like this aesthetic, man. Like, I do agree. Like, it is more. Yeah, it's definitely obviously not. This is actually. It looks a little bit more like a PS 1.8 kind of game. You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite PS2. But it's definitely bigger. It's definitely like more sophisticated than a PS1. It's not exactly the same, but like I dig the general vibe that it's going for. I like things modeled in this style. I think it's interesting. I think it feels nostalgic, even though I've never. This is a new game that I feel like nostalgic looking. So like I'm into it. I love this aesthetic. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking this out.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to. I made a big mistake of opening like a shit ton of windows to prepare. You know, like have just all. Yeah. And then you can't see what they are. You know, like yeah, you put the tabs not long enough. So you see like one letter and everything. Not great organization on my part. All right, next up. This would be number 16. The 16th game they showed was Towers of Agazba, coming to PlayStation 5 in early access on November 2024. I have no interest in this game, but I am interested in that it's an early access game that's also coming at the same time to PC. This isn't unheard of, but unusual for PlayStation to support this level of early access. Xbox has been much more aggressive in my estimation with this stuff. So I'm interested from that. It's from that perspective. It's described as a stunning open world filled with majestic creatures and quirky characters. Nurture withered lands into vibrant ecosystems and flex your creativity as you build a thriving island civilization in balance with nature. Invite friends to craft, harvest, and hang on your fantasy island. So certainly not anything for us, I don't think. It's by a studio called Dreamlit Inc. Any interest in this game? Did anyone pick up on that? Am I crazy, or is that kind of unusual to have a game in early access on PlayStation? I mean, it's not unheard of, but it seems to be becoming more common. Like they're open to these sorts of unpolished experiences. They're not unpolished, but unfinished.
Yeah, because originally they had a policy about not doing early access, but I think they reversed course. Was it? It wasn't PAL, but the other Pokemon, like 1010 or something.
Oh, right, that's right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that they've kind of changed their ways on that, but it looks really beautiful. I can't get into crafting games anymore.
Yeah.
Really, I was trying with a few different ones like Beat Rising and the one that's Viking themed. I can't remember what it's called. Valheim. Yeah, I played a decent amount of both of those, and they're cool if you're into it, but I don't need it.
Alright, the 17th game is Lego Fortnite. They show a split-screen update for a local co-op, which is cool. Unusual, unintuitive, but for kids, so I would imagine you play with your brother, your sister, your parents, whatever. Friends. And then a Fortnite DualSense controller. Interesting.
That is the most ugly controller I have maybe ever seen. It is ugly as sin, and it's gonna sell so well. I hate the way it looks.
They're probably, like, the person who nailed that marketing deal is probably, like, so amped. You know? Gonna get a nice little bonus.
This thing is... I think, like, my eyes... I feel like I censored this thing in my own brain to avoid looking at it, because I don't remember seeing this at the State of Play, but I know I saw it.
They show it quickly, like a sizzle.
Yeah, it's wise to show it quickly. I will say that. Yeah, it's fucking ugly. Godspeed. Anybody who's gonna buy this thing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure someone is. And by someone, I mean.
Does it really say where we drop him? Oh my god.
Oh, boy.
Oh god, Christ.
Boy. Alright. Drop this controller into the garbage. That's where we're dropping.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Next up is, this is 18. Dynasty Warriors Origins coming to PlayStation 5 on PS4. And I can see that, by the way, in the game. I want to talk a little bit about that. On January 17th, 2025, so early next year, another Omega Force joint developed by them, published by their home studio Tecmo Koei. Yet another Dynasty Warriors game. The series began way back in 1997. This is the first Dynasty Warriors game since 2018, though, which I think is the longest gap actually between core Dynasty Warriors games. And obviously there are a lot of Muso spin-offs that Omega Force does, and this is a very valuable licensed property now, not from Dynasty Warriors, this type of game, integrated with Nintendo and Atlas and so on and so forth. I wonder what PlayStation Muso would be if they license. You know, Sony's not a relationship. Right? Relationship. But they've not gotten like the Uncharted Muso or anything like that yet. Like there could be something funny there, or something fun. And they, you know, Square Enix has done it with Dragon Quest, and obviously Zelda with Nintendo, and Fire Emblem, and yeah, Persona with Sega. I wonder if those conversations ever happened. But I don't know if you guys saw this. I was really quite intrigued by the gameplay. Like, this is pretty impressive, actually. I don't like Musos. I don't really understand them. The only one I ever played really, really deeply was Dragon Quest Heroes. But I've tried many over time. I would like to review a Muso like Samurai Warriors and back in the day and all the rest. It's just a soul deep void in the field eating ever-loving shit out of thousands of characters. And I just didn't know what was going on with it. But this, I'm really impressed with the volume of characters on Dragon Quest Heroes on PS4 had like draw distance problems and all sorts of things, and I was like, wow, not only is it, usually it's like you against a huge army, and I don't know where it evolved into other things at some point, but it seems like army versus army now. There's just a lot going on. And I can see, I guess what I'm saying is I can see why this would be a PS5 game for, you know, current general. You guys have no interest in this series though, right? So it's not for you, but it was good. Really? I'm not gonna play it. Alright. Number 19, Monster Hunter Wilds, dated February 28, 2025. This looks pretty good. It's not, again, not for me. One note. Love the cat characters. Love those cats. Wherever they are, I need a whole game and a whole spin-off about just them, because they're really quite adorable. I love how small they are and how ridiculous they are. And there's a little meow noise they put in there on the trailer at some point, which was nice, that I really enjoyed as well. So you can play Monster Hunter Wilds?
Yes, absolutely. This is day one. But since it's such a multiplayer game, this is one I'll pick up on PC. They released the PC specs, like the recommended specs, and they are heavy. So get your PC tuned up or play on PlayStation 5. I'm curious about how we'll do on the base console at that point in the Pro version. But I'm fully in. I don't need to see this game anymore, but I was happy to see a release date. Something to look forward to next year.
Any interest for you, Chris?
No, I mean, Monster Hunter is so weird. Like, I every time I look at it, I'm into it, and then I think about the prospect of starting it up, and I just get like intensely overwhelmed at the prospect of learning it, or just like even I don't know. There's a wall with Monster Hunter for me that I wish I could climb over, but I just realistically speaking, like I don't think I'll be able to.
Is it woke?
It's too woke for me.
It's too woke.
Yeah.
Alright. Only a few more to get through here.
People don't even know what that fucking
Number
means.
20 will be Lego Horizon Adventures, which is coming to PlayStation 5, PC, and Nintendo Switch on November 14th. No PS4 iteration again, I just find that peculiar. There is a lot of new footage, new gameplay. The vibe of this game is so unlike Horizon that, and I know that Lego always makes things lighthearted and funny or whatever, but I asked my wife, I was like, is there some sort of intention here to like soften Aloy and make her more appealing or something? Like when you really sit and think of it, it's an unusual property to have a Lego game, and yet it makes sense aesthetically, certainly. So I'm going to play the shit out of this when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. The Lego Horizon Adventures, November 14th. I did notice that there was no mention of the Switch iteration on the trailer, but they do mention it on PlayStation Plus, and they do mention it on their Gorilla's Twitter accounts or social media feeds that it's coming to Switch. I'll be very interested to see how it does it. Are you guys in on Lego Horizon Adventures November 14th?
I felt like this trailer, obviously this is a game geared towards kids, but I felt a little cringy at the trailer, but I think it looks cool. I think it looks fun. I am not super into Lego games. I even, a month ago, I played the intro of Skywalker Saga. It's like, this is cute, but I don't think I'm going to play it, so we'll see about this one. I like that they have the Ratchet and Clank outfits, and Sackboy outfit was cute, but you're right, the vibe is so incredibly different, and man, I mean, it's a very tough task to make Aloy seem cheerful, really in any way, so that's definitely part of the dynamic.
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna check it out. Chris, are you gonna play?
Yeah, no, totally. This is, it's weird seeing something like this because, like you said, it feels like a weird franchise to do it with, but at the same time, just the concept of robot dinosaurs and the way like it melds well. I think a big part of the reason why I'm excited about this, or why I'm looking forward to this, not that I wasn't already, but recently, I don't know if you guys saw this, there was a leak of that Mega Bloks Halo game that was talked about and like that was canceled in like the late 2000s, early 2010s or whatever. And you can play it apparently. Like there's like a way to play it. Project Hagar. And it's just like a Mega Bloks version of Halo. It's like, damn, this would have killed. Like this would have been such a good idea. It's crazy. And so to see this happening and like realized in some way with another franchise that you could theoretically look at as like a bad fit, but turns out being good. Like, yeah, man, I'm into it. I wish more franchises would have the confidence to kind of explore like really, really different avenues the way that Horizon seems to be doing. The flexibility is there, and
what's usual, because I've been trying to touch different things there.
It's interesting because it's no disrespect to the Mega Bloks brand. I don't mean any disrespect to them, but It's so like it's just so peculiar. It's like, why wouldn't you just you're Halo? Go Mexico. But there's just no way that this was the better deal for you, you know. And and they did lose out on a lot of potential crossover, I guess. There, I'm sure the money was nice and all the rest, but it's just so unusual that you're Microsoft, you're Xbox, you have Halo, it's your biggest brand. Like, get it into the best hands. That's just that simple.
Oh, dude, yeah.
These guys are annoying.
I tweeted about it recently. It's been the anniversary of a lot of these games, and I'll get.
Burger, or do I want a sandwich? Do I want wings? I think like a bacon cheeseburger and fries, or like wings. Well, we don't have burgers here. We don't have wings here, but we do have chicken. That's kind of how I'm weighing things. It's like, oh, they got good-looking chicken strips, but we have like chicken strips in the freezer. We don't have burgers, but we get burgers a lot. But we don't have burgers here right now, so it's like a burger. With bacon, but we have no burger. Cheese, but there's no burger. Burger lettuce. But, right?
Oh yeah, lettuce. It's a bacon burger.
Bacon burger, got it.
No tomato or onion. Are you calling it in or ordering it online? Okay, I don't think they can do it, but what sauce does he come with? No, it doesn't say it comes with. Bacon cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I know it comes with the side. I'm saying barbecue sauce on the burger. You can also order it as a side of barbecue sauce. That's my feel. I'll go on myself.
Condiments.
But at the restaurant, you can ask for barbecue on the burger. I did. I know, Pinky. It's exciting.
Okay.
What?
Directions say
Side, yeah,
but whatever.
that's fine.
I'm just laughing at it.
I know. When you're in a restaurant, you're like, do you still have some barbecue on that? And we're like, yeah. I don't know why they don't have those options on here. If you have questions on sides or fries, I'll take whatever. I'll take wedges, I'll take garlic fries, or they don't need to be garlic fries, but you let me know. Cool. Perfect. What's split mean? Is that... Well, it's split between medium and medium rare? Or... What are the options?
Medium rare, split, or well done. So I guess like
Go split.
medium.
For burger, American. Or cheddar. Yeah, American. I say or cheddar. Like, I usually go American, and then the cheddar is also a good backup, though.
we're 2 down. Ah, just the times. But... Go. $20 minutes. Oh, paid for? Oh shit.
I tweeted about it recently, like, man, they dropped the ball with this entire franchise. And a lot of ex-Bungie, like higher up ex-Bungie people are liking those tweets. Granted, I think it's because you can't see likes anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cool side effect. It's like you get to kind of see who's paying attention.
I'm still paranoid about that, just in that I still don't like anything. It's like, what if they turn it off? You know, or like it accidentally, and then I'm liking all sorts of inappropriate shit. Okay. So there's Lego Horizon Adventures, that's number 20, November 14th, PS5. Again, I find it very weird that it's not on PS4. I don't understand the point of not putting it on PS4, especially when you're putting it on Switch. I don't. It could be that they are trying to judge the market so much that they don't want to compete with Switch's version. In other words, make like the mid-tier version. And that's the Switch version. And then the PS5 version, the PC version. It almost seems like that logic tells you that's to be something like that. You know?
That I think is the smartest. That's the best rationale behind it, right? You'd imagine, like, you don't want people drawing comparisons between any kind of PlayStation version and the Switch version to the point where it's like, oh, well, obviously, the Switch version is the same thing as the PlayStation version for portable. You want to have, like, that kind of, like, we got the premium, we got the best one, you know?
Totally. Yeah, it's interesting to think about what would be the purpose, and there's got to be a reason. And yeah, so it could be that we don't want to have any comparator. It could be what I said, which is like we don't want to launch something that would compete directly with the Switch version, so we see how it does without our interference.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, you don't have a PS5, you have a Switch or a PS4, can't split between those, and then we see how we do. Because I think that I just have this feeling that we're going to see more Switch PlayStation stuff, especially with the next Switch that can play PS4 games relatively well. If not perfectly, because it'll be somewhere probably between the PS4 Pro and the PS5. So, all right. Next up, 21 is the infamous Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, which will be available on October 31st for PS5 and PC. And it comes from a collaboration between Guerrilla and Nix's. If you own the game already, you will get it to upgrade for $10. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not going to play it immediately by any stretch of the imagination. But I will play it when Horizon 3 is near. I'm going to do exactly what I've done with other games and just play through 1 and 2 again. And so at that time, I'll pay the upgrade fee and do it. So I find this quite unoffensive. But Ethan Marcellus wrote in and said, "Hey boys, Chris, what is your opinion on Guerrilla and Nix's ruining your most beloved character, Child Aloy, by stripping her of her Goblin and Tommy Pickles-esque qualities in the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster? Seems like their decision to specifically showcase Child Aloy was directly targeted at Chris. Is this a conspiracy? May Goblin Aloy forever RIP in peace." Ethan, thank you for writing in. This is a thing people really notice, is that they've done away with that. So there's a lot of new. It seems like they're promoting some like new stuff here. I think 10 hours of new mocap and performance capture. Everything's supposed to be polished up. The Horizon 2's standard. I find this inoffensive. It doesn't seem like a really. It's fine. I think it's fine. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I first of all, the second I heard that, or the second I saw that this was going to be a part of it, like it's like Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. I was like, okay. There are two things that will there's really only one thing that will make me a believer in this, and it's if they show Child Aloy and she doesn't look horrifying. And they did that. Like, they almost explicitly showed, like, a nice chunk of footage of her, like, drawing the bow back and shooting it, and she looks not horrifying. So I was like, okay, you know what, that's fine. That's fine by me. I'm in. This is, again, inoffensive to me. I downloaded Horizon Zero Dawn recently on my Steam Deck, because I was going to play it. And then I heard that this was coming, and I was like, okay, well, let me see what this is. So now I think I might, just play it on PlayStation and get some trophies or whatever. And yeah, I think $10 is perfectly fair for the amount of work that's gone in. It looks very clearly like it looks like more of an upgrade than I thought it would. But at the same time, I don't think it necessarily needed it, but it's cool that it's there. It's a nice optional thing for people who want it to just look better. I'm fine with this, you know.
Dave Grohl's bastard child wrote in. Has had been wanting to push back on the vitriol towards the Zero Dawn remaster for a while now, and even more so since it's been confirmed to be a $10 upgrade. When Forbidden West released, I dicked around in Zero Dawn for a bit because in my memory it looked just like Forbidden West, but I couldn't have been more wrong. It felt weird to feel so disgusted by an objectively beautiful game, but when comparing the two, you can easily see the improvements they made: the lighting, water, faces, and many other areas of visual development. Not to mention the smoother and tighter gameplay. My question is this: am I crazy for wanting more remasters and remakes? When I played The Last of Us Part 2 at release, I spent a lot of time thinking it would be so sick if they remade the original just to have the quality to it. Am I just bent over and gaped open for whatever capital P product they have ready to give me, or do you share this desire to see these sorts of polishes to games as we enter this era of diminishing returns? I've been a consistent listener since day one, and hope to do so for many years to come. I'll hang up and listen. I don't know that I want more of them, Dave Grohl's bastard child, but I do think that I find them somewhat inoffensive, because I understand that you kind of want to have your game live in perpetuity at a certain standard. And if you can spend time just kind of getting into that standard, as long as you're not continuously feeling like you need to do it. This is why there's something really tempting about remaking like the Uncharted trilogy, for instance, which I think is going to probably happen. I don't have any information on that, but that just seems like something like Drake's Fortune being remade, I would describe it, you know? But at the same time, when you look at the Blue Point collection on PS4, it's like, yeah, what's stopping you from kind of just leaving it there? It's like the best representation. It's a very nice and decent representation of what the Uncharted games were. They're better there than they ever were on PS3. How much are you going to continue to chase these diminishing returns to get it up to snuff? So in other words, I don't mind them revisiting these games once, but I want them to leave them now. It's like, all right, good. It's a PS5 game now. Like, let's just leave it alone. And yeah, as long as they can have that level of control, and I think they will, because I don't think Horizon will even really be or the Horizon trilogy will be very relevant by the time we get to PS6 and beyond, because we found them being PS5 versions. As long as these are one-offs, it's like fine. And as a consumer, it's like, what do you care? You're paying $10 for an upgrade, and you don't have to. So, unless you look at it as an opportunity cost, but even there, I don't. Everyone was mad Nix's was porting games to PC, right? We're not allowed to work. Well, they just worked on this for PS5 for people. It will go to PC too, but so I think it's actually a good use of resources in some sense, even if you're really militant about the PC stuff, which I'm not. So yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, I mean, I guess the only thing for me is that and maybe this is not super rational, maybe it is more sentimental or emotional than it should be, but like I kind of do feel on some level that I like when you can go through the history of a franchise and you can see the improvements between them. Like, I think it's cool to be able to see the difference between, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, just as a historical point of, you know, experiential reality. It's like, oh, this is what this game was like, and this was the jump to the next thing. And I do think now that the new thing is out, let's get the previous thing up to snuff. I don't think it causes confusion necessarily, but it definitely complicates something in a way that I don't know if it's necessarily super needed. Like when The Last of Us Part 3 comes out, are we going to get a situation where, oh well, The Last of Us Part 2 can look so much better now? You know what I mean? And then when that happens, does that mean like a Last of Us Part 1 remake? Like, is that? I understand it as like a one-off thing. I get it, but I do worry about the potential justification of this going forward as a snowball effect, because I don't think that's necessary. I don't think we need to be doing this forever. I actually think it's already kind of jarring in other games, like when you go from Combat Evolved to Halo 2 Anniversary, and then it looks fucking amazing. Then you go to Halo 3 and it just kind of looks like shit in comparison, even though it looks fine. It's weird, and I feel like it creates a kind of a confusing timeline for people in their own heads. But I'm generally in agreement that like if it's a $10 upgrade, I think I'm okay with it. Is one question that I have though about these kind of upgrades, like is Until Dawn remake or whatever it is they're doing, that's a full price new thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they said the price, but I think it's $50. Really.
Right, but it's not like a $10 upgrade, so
No, there's no upgrade path for Until Dawn. It'll be $60 on PS5 PC.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that discrepancy on some level. I know there's a lot of work that's done, but it feels like they did a lot of work for Horizon Zero Dawn, so why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not treat both of them, if not identically, the same?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know. It seems like, they probably did more for Until Dawn, but the resources you think would actually be, like, using ballistic would probably be cheaper than Gorilla plus Nixes, so
right.
There's probably some marketing reason. The game's a little older. And, maybe it feels more like a relaunch. I don't think they're trying to get away with relaunching Zero Dawn in some sense.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't know for sure. Dustin, what are your thoughts here on this?
So I'm watching a video, obviously there's the trailer, but people have already put together side-by-sides, original versus remaster. And it's clear to me that the $10 price tag of this visual update, totally worth it. In fact, it's actually more extreme than I thought. I could tell that it looked significantly better just from the trailer, but when you really see the side-by-side, you're right. And that's what, the Reddit mentioned, that you have this idea of what a game looks like in your head, because I think your brain kind of modernized it, especially after playing the sequel, that's just how you remember it. Then you go back, maybe not as hot as you remember. But I think when I think about the pushback to this remaster, it's kind of a victim of not actually what it is. It's a victim of the circumstance and other factors around it. I think a lot of people look at this and they say, well, Horizon already, you're making it look a lot nicer, but it already ran and played very well on PlayStation 5 at 60 FPS. When at the same time, of course, the number one thing people bring up is Bloodborne, which does not run well and is stranded on PlayStation 4. And so they're looking at this opportunity cost. It's like, well, you chose to invest in this instead of Bloodborne. And so, as a huge Bloodborne fan, of course, I want Bloodborne remastered just as much as everyone else. But I'm convinced at this point that Bloodborne has other factors involved that cannot be solved. Whether it's maybe they wanted Bluepoint to do it, but they didn't want to, or were involved with other projects. Maybe From Software doesn't want to touch it again, and so maybe they don't feel like they have the right studio to do it at this point. And at the same time, too, some people are saying, well, so why don't they just go and release a 60 FPS update? And I think that would be a waste with Bloodborne. Certainly, I would love that. But they're looking at the opportunity that they have with Bloodborne, and I think that they know that they could really do a full thing and charge $70 for it, certainly. So, it's important to think about this as what it is and not just the surroundings. If you look at what it is, for $10, I think this looks like a fantastic update. And certainly if you're interested, would be worth it. But I
tweeted about it recently. Like, man, they dropped the ball with this entire franchise. A lot of ex-Bungie, like higher up ex-Bungie people are liking those tweets.
Oh.
Granted, I think it's because you can't see likes anymore.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
I don't know why the podcast did that.
there are external factors prohibiting that at this point, certainly.
Yeah, there's got to be like legal or technical or I don't know. There's got to be some roadblock in the way that's prevented them from going this far. And even if there wasn't at this point, there must have been for long enough that enough time has passed where they're like, we might as well hold off on this until we can do something crazy.
Yeah, it's the 10th anniversary next year, and I feel like that might have something to do with it. Jeffy and I actually talked about this, and we talked about it so many times over the shows over the years. It's like there's obviously something up with. Because people are like, well, it doesn't matter. Sony owns it. So I'm like, no, it could matter. Like it could be deeper than that about availability, and it's probably something that money can solve. But it's not like they don't know. I mean, for God's sake, Bloodborne appears in Astrobot. It's like everyone knows, and so there's got to be a reason. And yeah, so the 10th anniversary is next year. I like the idea of shadow dropping, or like just shadow dropping things and dropping them day and date or whatever, and just kind of bringing them out. And I feel like the unannounced major release with like a Bloodborne on PS5 would fucking available now kind of thing would be huge. I mean, imagine especially if it was like the vaunted remake, like the real remake of it, and they just kept it secret. I don't feel like, don't underestimate the power of that, of what that would do. I think that would set the world on fire, especially if it was on PC as well, which it should be. But they won't do that. I think they would release it on PS5 first. They did it anywhere. To this point, Ill Will 20345 wrote in and said, "Greetings, Sacred Lads. The Horizon Remaster is officially official, so I have to ask, how long until God of War 2018 gets its port? In all seriousness, though, wouldn't PlayStation be..."
Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to pause, stop the stream here. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be live a little later. I'm going to go eat some dinner right now and watch a show, but I'll be back later on. Some more Dead Cells, so stay tuned for that, or be on the lookout for that. And thanks for hanging out, chilling, and watching. See you next time, hopefully. Peace out.